It is the final day of the group stage, and I'm very, very excited to see what goes down. My name is Orbital, with me is Roodood, and my god, we can't get really into it and explain what's going on because they already started the draft. Let's go ahead and hop on in to this game of chaos and absolute buffoonery, because we have Red Cannons going up against Los Grandes who lost yesterday and are now 5-1, with Red Cannons who won yesterday and are now 5-1. We have a battle for first place.
Yeah, this is your first place showdown. These two teams probably should have come into the day at 6-0, leading to this glorious end in a battle for first. Red took a very disastrous loss to Loud. Yesterday, Los Grandes were feeling generous. They gave Pain Gaming their first win and gave the Pain fans something to cheer about. But now we see the both of them here, 5-1, battling for that first place spot.
Yep, I love it. Listen, it might not be the 6-0, but 5-1 still for first. I'll take it. You know, it's close enough, is what we say. Will it live up to the hype? I have no idea. We already do see some very interesting picks coming through, though. Very quick look. It is, as said in the top left, it is Los on that red side last pick. The main thing to notify is the fact that we do see the Wukong and the Orianna combination. A first pick on the Renekton, though. A little bit surprising, but kind of funny considering what happened to Zest yesterday. And then the match of the Silas, the J4, and the Gnar for Red.
Yeah, so the first pick was Orianna here. I get tripped up by this all the time. I don't know how, but they're swapping the people around. They can swap during the draft, which baffles me every single time. And I now have to take a mental note of when these things were picked up. But the Orianna was taken first, which I think does make sense. It's just a really solid mid-lane pick. I am a little bit surprised to see that we get to see Kaze whip out the Silas here, though. It's definitely a little bit more spicy than I would have anticipated, especially for a game that does determine the first seed going into the postseason. But Kaze has been a real lifeblood part of this Red Canids roster, so no surprises that they've put a lot more emphasis on his capabilities. And with this first three picks already locked in, Orbital, they are going quick. They are looking to dive, try and find this backline, and gain access to them without really any stopping.
Which is why we're actually seeing the ban out of the dive supports in there. The Corki ban out, kind of surprising as well. Doo did not have the greatest time yesterday, but still plays a fair amount of it. So gonna go ahead and say we don't want to allow that, considering we did see, well, actually Doo just plays it a lot anyway, so might as well ban it away. The Alistar ban, though, I do want to see if Los are going to ban yet another support, kind of follow in line with those dive champs that you were kind of talking about. And it is going to be a Nico, so maybe not a pure dive, but a close enough of a team fight engage.
Yeah, I wonder if this Thresh ban signifies they're looking for a Yunara here. With Thresh Aphelios being such a prevalent lane, makes sense they would look to ban that out. Alternatively, Kai'Sa is a really good pick here because they've got three divers already. The Kai'Sa can follow up in that backline, and it is just going to be that Yunara. So you've banned away the Aphelios Thresh lane. Doesn't mean that Dudu can't take this Aphelios himself and just try and play it with a slightly different lane. I, for one, wouldn't be against Aphelios Lulu here. If Dudu and Akaman want to take that, you deny the Lulu away from Frosty, you deny that powerful 2 versus 2, and I really don't think that that's the worst way in the world for Los Grandes to go here. They obviously know that they're expecting some sort of Enchanter support to help out Rebello, and for me, this is a real surprise, actually, as Los lock in and Ezreal.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not the most impactful, the most chaotic of ADCs, but it can definitely stay safe if you need to, and the bar does make sense. So it's actually the side of Los that say we want a combination that will be able to stay alive, that will be able to, you know, divert away from a major battle if we need to. You were talking about Enchanter support, though, coming in for the Yunara, maybe not so much. You had the Thresh ban, you had the Alistar ban, and you might as well go down to the third highest hook champion outside of Blitzcrank, because I don't really consider Blitzcrank a hook champion. I consider him the hook champion. Frosty, though, saying, look, we need some sort of engage. It's either Alistar, not Alistar, it's the Nautilus or the Rakan, and it will be the Rakan to have a little bit more back and forth.
And I don't mind that. To be honest, Frosty's Rakan has been game warping pretty much every single time we end up seeing him pick this one up. He gets to, you know, pair up nicely with what is ultimately a large portion of dive already. For Los Grandes here, I'm curious as to what their answer is going to be, right? They've locked in this board, and their engage itself relies very heavily around that Tempered Fate, maybe pairing up with a Wukong Orianna combo to try and find these fights. I think that both of these two teams have a lot of innate mid-game power, so that first item, second item turn on going to be really powerful for both of these sides. But what's going to be really curious as to when we reach this late game is whether or not Rebello can pop off, because this Yunara in the late stages of the game is going to be that massive threat, the big hyper carry that we have come to expect and that we know will be a part of this game. Whereas on the flip side, a little bit curious to see what Dudu can do on this Ezreal. We've seen him be incredibly aggressive, incredibly forward-facing on every AD carry that he's picked. And the Ezreal itself has a lot of upside if you can do that well, but a lot of downside if you take one aggressive arcane shift.
Yep, it's a scary thought, especially considering how Los played yesterday, maybe playing a little bit more off kilter, and you saw a couple of the hovers as well, having a little bit of fun, but we want them to be able to lock in here. They tried something new yesterday, a little bit with that Vayne top, and it didn't really work out. Same with the rest of the lanes. The rest of the lanes kind of broke out in disfavorable proportions, so now they want to kind of buckle back down. Red, though, they're running on a high. They won yesterday. They have a chance now. They see this kind of light as the front runner trips up. They have a chance to secure first place. Now, obviously, you already had the bye moving in as you're already in the top 4 position, but you really do want that first. You want to face off against the lower seed and gain that favorability. A lot of fans showing up for this opening matchup as we got Los Grandes versus Red Canids. Going to be hitting the Rift in just a bit.
And I really like that you call out the sort of stakes here for this match, Orbital, as it is definitely that battle for first. And obviously with the Red Canids taking that win yesterday, they put themselves 5-1 level with Los, and a little bit thankful really that they ended up taking that defeat to Pain. But even still, this is that ultimate battle for the first spot. Both of these teams decided that they would give over a free win to a random enemy lower down in the standings, and you know, when you've got Red Canids firing on what seems to be all cylinders, they really do end up looking like one of the strongest parts of the CBLOL. This is your first game of the final day, or a final day where we've got 4 games to play, every single one of them with some sort of stakes or standings implications. This one decides us first, and it only gets more interesting as we move throughout the day.
It really does. At the same time, one of the other matches that I might be looking forward to is, of course, the ever so lovely Loud versus Flux. No, I'm joking. We got Furia and VKS after this one, and then we have Pain versus Leviathan in the third. Loud versus Furia will close out the day. But as you said, everyone has the stakes, whether big or small. Starting things off, though, first soul ward, 5 gold over to Zest. You gotta love it. Always gotta love to see that benefit. But that is not what we are looking at. Standard lanes with junglers starting on the bot side.
Yeah, moving up towards this top side, Gnar versus Renekton, typically going to be very Gnar favoured through the early stages of the game, and honestly not too bad as it gets later on as well. It really is just a spacing war. If FNB takes one step too far forward and the Renekton gets on top of him, then there's a problem. If, however, that doesn't happen and FNB is able to keep at a distance, then there shouldn't really be too much of a concern. Looking in this mid lane, though, Kaze looking for the Conqueror. No Resolve secondary either. Didn't take Doran's shield either, so I'm expecting Feisty to be able to really abuse this Sylas early on. You normally see this as a second win D-shield kind of matchup, but that's not the case for Kaze here as he finds himself under the gun a little bit.
I mean, that also might draw a couple eyes from Curse as Kaze is already getting shoved in. Same with the top side, though. Zest trying to push out against FNB. All these, I want to say, expected defensive positions or disadvantageous positions, trying to find opportunities, kind of break your way out. Feisty, giving really, really clean room. Now that the level 3 has been hit, you know a Sylas will be willing to kind of dive on and use that abscond abduct and just kind of rush at you if they so wish. So just making sure to weave the auto attacks in without taking tower shots. That's what we didn't want to see.
Yeah, we are a little bit Yasuo in the mid lane there with the little turret shot being taken, but nevertheless, really good little poke early on, but this lane does get a lot harder as you move past that sort of level 3 marker. So once that turn on arrives for the Sylas, maybe a recall comes through, and then you start to try and take some trades afterwards and the teleport from there. You can see, just looking to stick around, trying to get a little bit of experience where he can. You survived the worst part of the laning phase, though, now as Kaze, and from here, it's not going to be easy, but it definitely gets better.
Getting over the hump, making sure that you get a little bit more oomph behind your step. Frosty really stepping up close, trying to get some sort of extra jump, trying to make the opponent get a little bit antsy. The top side, though, FMB and Zest going a little bit further than I think they actually would have liked. You can see the likes of Drake in the wings sticking around a little bit long, but both junglers are opting for a chance and not really given the opportunity to get the first gank off, so they both recall, buy, and look for another full rotation. Tag onto Ackerman, though, as Ackerman takes a decent amount of damage here, was playing a little bit too close to the sun, and again, for Rebello, you're more than willing to lay down those auto attacks in that semi-transcended state.
I think that the way that this game needs to play out as Los is you generate these leads early. What we were talking about coming into the week was, well, actually, they find leads early on, and it looks like they're looking for another one bot lane.
Yeah, gather up that flash plus more, burn the flash and ghost out of Rebello. Rebello taking no chances on that first blood. Wants to keep that CS in the right spot. Burn him early, stay alive, keep the laning phase going.
Yeah, and I like this actually from Drake here. This now gives him an opportunity to return to the bot lane when he has level 6. Make sure you can get on top of the Yunara when she's got no summoners available. You have double knockups ready, a stun from Ackerman as well. Will help you get there. But his level 6 is going to be a little bit delayed, as we do see Curse able to worm his way in, finds a quick little look on those Raptors, maybe even a look in mid lane as well.
That's a little bit closer to the towers, so all you're going to get is that flash. What a chain, though! No! Feisty got a bit too feisty, and Kaze and Curse sweep first blood.
Just a bit illegal, I'm going to be honest from you, Feisty. That was not okay to step back up like that. Abscond has been used. We have to imagine that the chain's ready to go out. And it's a blunder from the Los Grandes mid lane here. Feisty losing out big time, and Kaze weathers the storm of this problematic early game Orianna. Manages to make a real meal of that mid lane play, but Kaze will be more than happy to find an extra stack on his Dark Seal.
We were talking about the fact that you went for a much more offensive Silas build. You went for a much more offensive rune setup, and you need that amp up. This is a build that literally plies on, if you get a lead, you can snowball it even faster. You have a lot of these innate, a lot of the innate systems built to create an even larger win for yourself. You really did need that kill. So a gift from the heavens, yes, it might just be an assist, but that's more than enough to get an extra, 100 gold in the bucket, especially with being a little bit further behind in the CS numbers. We won't get a repeat. We won't get a replay of that unfortunate kill in the mid lane against Feisty. What we are going to see is more pushes around this dragon as we Infernal to play for.
A good little chunk from Los Grandes down on the spot side does suggest they might be looking for it. I'll suggest that they've got the advantage here. As Curse, if he gets this crab wielding level 6, he's very close to that breakpoint. Feisty, obviously with no flash, a bit of a sitting duck as well. But if they can get Curse, really any experience here, even if they just stall a little bit to get himself a blue buff, but I think this crab could very well decide the Drake.
Oh, well, it is going to be the kill instead, as Feisty walked into a hijacked shockwave. I don't think you're too happy about that one. Los trying to get some sort of revenge, but Red fielding away. Really nicely done to pick up a second on this mid laner.
Yeah, and I mean, from here, I think that this mid lane could very easily get out of control. Kaze has been a superb mid laner throughout this entire split. I think that if he's a person that can find an advantage and push it over the limit, Icy definitely not going to be too easily able to withstand that at all. And, taking a look up at that top side, it's worth mentioning that Zest is keeping pace here with FNB on the Gnar, and that's maybe a little bit atypical. Whereas, actually, you would expect the Gnar to have a slight advantage. That's just not quite been the case as of yet. As we get another replay, have a look at what happened, and you're quite right, Orbital, it's a stolen Orianna ulti. Feisty not really able to do as much with his as he would have liked. Gosling walks through vision on a ward, and I mean, it's really easy, quite simply done. Manages to find a double in the way out, does Feisty, but not well enough.
Well, Zest might be in for one as well. Flashes away after using that dominance. FNB and Frosty getting a big win on the top side. It might not be a major CS lead, but burning that flash out of Zest primes him for another kill. Kaze, though, one sweep, one round of abilities. Feisty's already low, and that's the power of a full offensive Silas. Now, are you going to be able to spot out this gank? Drake holding off in the wings, shows up on sight. And is looking just to try and push out the lane. Doesn't want Feisty to have to sit on 50% HP the whole time.
Yeah, getting a recall in for your Oriana is about as good as you can hope for. Half a level lead for Kaze means that probably every other wave is pretty difficult for Feisty, as that experience advantage ticks over into a level advantage for the Silas. So Feisty definitely needs to try and find a way back into this lane. It's not going to be easy, but it probably is going to rely on a little bit of help from Ackerman. Oh, don't know about that.
Wow. This is a pretty heavy investment right now. Kaze actually running away from that mid, doesn't get that Kingslayer off, and also a draft into those grubs. Drake was able to push off Curse. 2 were taken, 1 was given. So for Los, you're able to get a little bit of punishment in the mid lane after, using a lot there. I think that was the 3rd gank in a row that we watched.
Yeah, and I mean that worked out very well. That was quite easy. They didn't burn really any summoner spells. They didn't even have to burn ultis either. Kaze stole the Tempered Fate and then displayed to us why he's not a support player, because he froze himself and just let the cooldowns for Feisty come back up, which wasn't exactly the move.
Topside though, Zess, no abilities, no ult, no flash. That's the gank coming in here. Curse picking up their 2nd of the game.
Yeah, and that's really big actually for F&B as well, as he was struggling on that top side to generate some sort of advantage. You'd like to see more of a lead be picked up by the Gnar in this situation, but was not the case, and that kill might just be able to push him over the edge to the point where he can actually start to dice 1v1 with the Renekton and start to generate a meaningful lead. We are panning and seeing Kaze here on his way down to that bot side. 3 plates for Duda and Ackerman already is nothing to scoff at, as this Ezreal Bard lane is actually doing very well at punishing the Yunara. She's got double sums back up though. We saw an early gank found down on that bot side. Wasn't particularly punished by Drake Hero, and we're seeing Curse now wait in the wings.
Oh, and I love that you got self-tethered. You got self-tethered, and now you can break out the kill. There's the Temper Fate used to slow down the death. Might be able to turn around and kill for 1-for-1, but not going to happen. Now Ackerman out of mana. Drake here to help on out, but I don't think it's going to happen. Quick laser across the body slows down Drake. The nice dash to a minion allows him to get away from Frosty. Really well done. Dance on the back end, though, as Kaze eats up a shockwave, and I don't think you want to be here. Feisty getting some revenge. No King Slayer! Feisty brings the solo.
That's the way you come back into a laning phase, outplaying the 1 versus 1. Yes, you can steal the shockwave, but if you don't use it, it doesn't matter. Now we can TP in our top laner. We've got a response to this dragon, and you're not allowed to take it for free.
Have to walk away, half HP. Feisty will turn and say thanks for the leash. Well done by Los Grandes as they start fighting back here in this game.
What they needed, really. This is really solid from them, and I think that obviously this composition we highlighted doesn't scale the best. But they needed something like this to be able to battle their way through this mid-game, as Red Canids were set, prepped, and primed to just slowly walk their way to a late-game victory. Duda gets baited in by the connection on that Q, but I think if this next Q from Ackerman hits, Rebello goes down, and it's at the very least a 1-for-1. Instead, not going to be the case. Fortunately, both members are able to dice their way out of that bot lane. Oh, and it's actually Feisty who capitalizes on a set of cooldowns that aren't quite there for Kaze. That Abscond Abducts lands, then maybe it can go their way, but Feisty does very well spacing out the autos and able to punish Kaze for a missed spell.
That was probably the most mechanical I've ever seen in Oriana. And then immediately Feisty eats a chain. But, watching Feisty play, utilizing this phase rush as well, we see why it's so necessary against something like a Silas. You're able to dodge out on a majority share of those abilities. You get a good turnaround, and it becomes a winning situation. If you don't, though, you lose a good 75% of your HP. Blackfire Torch built up for Feisty. Going to be utilizing that one quite well. And our first quest is completed. Ackerman has a roaming around the map so cleanly. They now completed, as well as looking at Feisty. Everyone's starting to get those boons under their belt.
Yeah, 12.5, 13 minutes is our, typical break point here, as Red Canids have. They've got FNB's role quest, so he'll be able to TP in with a good chunk of HP and an extra shield to go on top of that. But thus far, some early engagements, and Los Grandes not looking to slow down their roll.
Not at all. Shockwave gonna land, but the Temper Fate holds on one. Drake can't really follow up. 2-shot barrage across the bodies won't lead to much more. Could have been dangerous, but a nice stop, and you can really see that Ackerman might be having a little bit of a tough time there with the Bard at points.
Yeah, it's really tricky as bard ulti, knowing what it is that you're supposed to do in any given situation. Sometimes it's good to save your teammates. Sometimes, like right there, it felt like actually you've probably not really done the best with it. Even still, though, I might be falling in mid lane. Holy.
Yep, once again, Kaze just... It hurts to watch. This one with Feisty on the back end, Drake with the save, living up to their name. Getting more and more Lowe's favored with that Orianna really scaling up.
And that's what we're really hoping for, right? Is getting that Ori to the mid to late game and she can have that massive shockwave. And then that turns the fight around. You know, that's the hope, the dream, really, more than anything else, is that a massive shockwave can be that offset for the mid to the late game that we don't really think that they have.
Well, if it does change, hey, even more benefit in there. Ackerman immediately with the Vandal Pipes says that would be our benefit. Taking a look at this replay again, very nice playing inside of that Fog of War, and then Feisty stepping out with low HP. It was such a nice bait to pull off, and then that flash just... Kaze did not enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Feisty once again under threat as 4 people on this top side looked like they were trying to take them down. They are good at trying to punish this Orianna, who has no flash. But Feisty, despite those early kills and early deaths, I should say, finds himself 20 CS to the good 1.2k gold up over Kaze. And that lead that we were expecting to balloon in favor of Red has really done anything but that. Really nice to see a good comeback here from Feisty. On the flip side of things, we were talking about the fact that Zest was doing well in that top lane matchup, and he found himself sort of 800 gold down. That said, he again did just find that turret, which has pushed him a little bit back over.
Yeah, you give it a little bit more benefit now that the quests are done. You can rotate everyone around and see exactly who is going to knock down what. You can see already for Los as you get a little bit of a view. Furia versus VKS will be coming up a little bit later in the day, once Los and Red are done. This game does need to complete, and we're still waiting for a major breakout moment. Both these squads leading into the mid game, which you pointed out, Rude, is going to be that moment where the comps really do shine. This mid game power, these mid game team fights could make or break a lot of how it's going to go down. Ackerman waiting around the corner, didn't want to take the Bard portal too quickly, so gave themselves a little bit more time to wiggle.
Yeah, nice to put a little bit of damage down before you take that portal out. A full 5-man commit from FMB and Red on this top side.
Quickness being used. Tag Cyclone utilized the whole Temper Fate, slows everyone down. So Ackerman, free fires on the back end, rough go of it. That's gonna be one that you knock off. And for Rebello to auto HP, Rebello, you have no more range to play with, no more abilities. Although it's only one, great push by Red here in this mid game.
That was a really dicey fight from Los Grandes there. They only lose one, which I think is a bit of a mercy to them because they played that fight pretty atrociously. Shockwave went wide, the Cyclone didn't quite connect, and it is going to be a connection and a pickup here of the Rift Herald as a sort of consequence for them. But just take a look at this. You can see Feisty Drake Hero, they're thinking about how they want to play this fight. Feisty puts the ball on Drake Hero, and he's saying, okay, go on, Rebello, go on, then do it. Presses R, Cyclone goes wide, the Shockwave doesn't hit anybody either, and Curse and Frosty just recognize, well, hold on, I've got free reign to get access to the Orianna now, and they've got no spells to stop me.
It's just an overall rough spot to be in, and I think even FNB was a little bit caught off guard. Sent the Gnar a little bit wide, wasn't timing the Temper Fate, so everything was just a little bit haywire, and Rebello was the main benefactor of it all. Really, really well done to at least snap up a little bit more damage, sitting on 2-0-0. Has the Kraken Slayer completed, going for a bit more of that snap damage with every third auto. Oh, now we're looking at the Dragon. Once more, Los Grandes might have fudged a team fight, but they aren't trying to fudge this Dragon lead. They're able to get it. That's huge. Gnar coming in as Mega Gnar, though, so you won't have Mega Gnar for this battle. Instead, it's going to be a 1-1 combat. Auto attacks will be the big thing here. Major TP shield available, but
yeah, that's
going to last.
Cyclone used there.
Dragon, though, has been stalled.
Yeah, Drake Hero used the Cyclone, wasn't really able to get anything from it. Feisty Shockwave not available or not expended. Zackerman there baits the ulti as well of Rebello. Yeah, he burns ulti there. So that's a pretty big tool that Red aren't going to have for this fight. And there can be a TP from Ackerman, maybe a spellbook to come back into this as Actually, it looks like with the electrocute, that's not an option. And Red Canids are able to stop the Los Grandes stacking. I think that's really important for them. Los, for me, needed to really start to push this game and push that dragon advantage as best as they could. But
Oh
Zest now
no.
under fire.
Yep, and you were left alone, slammed into the wall. FMB gets their second Gnar bar filled, and hurts to watch, but Red making things work. Now a catch on to Doo, who quickly arcane shifts out, but the bot side tower will fall as Red take the gold lead back.
Really solid sequence of plays by the Canids here. Now a TP into the top side. They are not giving any inches to Los Grandes.
Flash is available, so Feisty can't fight this if they want. Shockwave, though, to draw Kazi a little bit further away and open up a lot more space. Phase Rush, getting you back to the rubble of the first tower. Ackerman is around, though, to help kind of kite this out. And with another Temper Fate, slows down Curse to let the rest of the team come in. Drake Hero is exhausted, though, but it will be an auto attack number 1. Doo chasing for a bit more HP. It's only 1 to pay for. That is the Los Grandes to get some revenge.
Yeah, but look in the mid lane, look in the bot lane. Free time for FNB, free time for Rebello as well to work his way through that turret. I don't think he'll be able to take the whole thing. Los Grandes do need to get more out of this topside play. They've committed a lot of people to it. So they need to try and make sure that this turret is probably the thing that they fall with.
Oh, Kaze, a little bit greedy. Now you lose your life plus the tower. You could see them hesitating. You could see them going, should I stay or should I go? Instead, they just fall gifted over to Los for another kill.
And for Los Grandes, again, what they need, I think that their time in this game is, it's getting slowly but slowly more difficult as Rebello slowly picks up more of these items on the Yunara. 2 items finished to begin with. We'll see him working towards that Infinity Edge on 3 most likely. There's an argument to be made for some grievous wounds with the Renekton, with the Wukong and all the Conquerors stacking up, but a little replay of how this broke down to begin with Feisty doing a really good job at stalling Kaze here. Shockwave's one way and then Phase rushes his way out to the other. Curse goes in and overcommits quite heavily here. Does end up losing a large chunk of his HP just to Ackerman and a little bit of poke back from Feisty. Dudder, as he makes his way up here, has lost a lot of time in that mid lane. Could have looked to try and push it under the turret, but instead decides no. 650 gold in my back pocket is much more worthwhile than an extra mid-wave being denied to the Yunara. And then actually here, it's Ackerman playing incredibly well on the board, just walking forward, constantly zoning, constantly pressuring, landing the stun as well. I thought that Kaze gets caught there. Pretty criminal once again. Some maneuvers from these players that are costing them dearly.
It was so well done, and punishment in terms of how Los played that top side of the map. Will they be able to do it again, though? We haven't had a clean team fight yet. It's been a lot of picks. It's been a lot of opportunities. But nothing really a major to group up for. Red in that same bucket. As Dragon will be up in just a little bit. I think we got about 2 minutes on that marker before things go crazy. So we'll see if that next Dragon really calls it down. Is this an Ocean Soul to play for? One that I think everyone will really like.
Yeah, decent role here, especially since there's not a large amount of consistent DPS across either of these sides. We're looking largely at the poke and maybe Rebello to be the antithesis of that. We'll see whether or not the Ocean Soul ends up having the massive effect that we know it probably can do, or whether we get these really quick, bursty team fights. Take a quick look at that gold graph down on the bot side. It has been swaying, toing, and froing here, and Los Grandes currently with the fractional lead that there was. We'll see whether or not they can look to make anything more of that, as the Rift Herald used in the mid lane doesn't even get the charge. Definitely feels bad as Red Canids to have committed so much to that and not really been able to get anything from it. They looked for a play onto Zest, which didn't work out either. And now we're 22 minutes into this one, Orbital, and I don't think we're too much closer to knowing who it is that's actually going to come away with the game.
Well, let's see if it pans out here. This is going to be Feisty. Working their way in. Doo with a nice little chunk on the tower. Sidesteps the abduct. Doesn't want to get caught and lose out their life. We're still kind of just waiting, biding the time. I don't think anyone really wants to force a fight. Rebello picking up their second item, now looking at that IE to finish things out if they can. Having completed that Cole a little bit ago, you're more than happy to step in for these fights at level 13. Everyone kind of just building up their inventories before the fight ahead, and I am curious where the damage is really going to stack, who is going to pull off their wombo, that the combo yields a result.
Interesting, Rebello actually opting into a W max third, so E max second. Usually you'll see Unaras go for that W second for a bit of a better wave clear, slightly better combat power whilst fighting, but valuing the cooldown that is offered to you from that E, that ability to be maneuverable, definitely valuable in this game. If anything has been shown so far, it's that getting in and out of these short order skirmishes is the most important thing.
All right, well, two-shot barrage across two. No major differences. FMB on the side flank, though, trying to chunk out, build up that Narbar as quickly as possible. Nice off to the side. Shockwave on the back end. I didn't even see, but it does cut a lot of the HP out. No kills, though, but the threat of kills is just as good. Dragon to Los.
Yeah, they can't step up now. Red Canids lose out on that play, and this is where that range advantage does start to come through. Feisty can do a little bit of poke. Dudu can do more poke as well. Maybe FMB in a little bit of trouble as he looks top forward.
Maybe getting a little too far for comfort. More damage go down, and Kaze makes some bleed after that dragon. FNB does the same. Misses the boomerang and is now in no man's land. Don't know if you want to be here as Zest chunks him out. Nice little swap, forces a flash because Frosty is there. Well done by Red to at least get something back.
Yeah, they find a kill. They find a couple of flashes as well. Drake Hero and Zest not going to have their flashes up and ready, but they lose out on this mid-tier 1 turret. Dudu with really good heads-up play there. Recognizes I've got the time to make his way down into the mid lane, and he might well lose his life for it. Trying to find a safe space to recall, but that blue ward is going to do a good job at just spotting him out, making sure there's no way out for him. Frosty doesn't have ulti, but as long as he doesn't die here, shouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Oh, Dudu, though, you can't get close to the wall. You actually jump over and are followed by Curse. Much like a curse, it follows you everywhere until you cleanse it. There ain't no cleanse in this game. Rough times ahead for Dudu. You go down for the second time this game.
Yeah, burning both summoners there is pretty, I'll say it, poor. I think you're just dead and you have to resign yourself to that fate. Instead decides that burning both summoners is his right decision. He does burn the flash from Curse, but I think Curse himself actually played that pretty poorly, just not waiting over the wall and instead flag and dragging over, which just feels a little bit suboptimal, as you know you're giving the angle for Dudu to get back out to safety. Either way, though, an Ezreal with no summoner spell is definitely going to struggle his way through the next 5 minutes, even though he's got that arcane shift. You know that Red are looking very frequently with the Rakan, with the Jarvan, with the Silas. All of these things are looking to dive onto your heads, and with that dead Ezreal, they were able to push in that mid wave, able to take down the tier 1 turret and find a nice response.
The fact that we only have 3 towers to 3, it feels like it's been a long game, and at the same time it's been relatively slow in terms of objective taking. But now with that third broken, feels like the game can really begin any sort of team fight. Anyone that loses more than 2 or 3 players, they're going to be sitting there watching their base crumble ahead of them. The inhibitors could be next. Fast push will occur. At the current moment, though, you're just looking Baron up on the table, but nobody wants to make a move there. Instead, they want to hit those breakpoints, and maybe a few of them want to hit level 16, try and get that level 3 ultimate on the run. But this fight, we're going to take a look at one more time.
I mean, this was a good while ago. This was the response to the dragon that Los were able to take, and there's a couple of flashes burned, and all that we really get to see was the falling of the Ezreal up on that top side as well. I mean, if Curse holds his flag and drag here, it means he doesn't have to flash, but he commits his ulti as well, which I think is, again, a little bit overkill. It's back up now, so it ultimately doesn't matter. You can see a lot of hesitancy, and I think that the next fight here is going to be the one that really decides the way this game goes. If it's decisive either way, that team's going to get Baron, that team's going to start to be able to break open some turrets, some structures, and take some real sizable gold advantages from it. So any slight lapse in judgment from either of these two teams could very well cost them. It's Red Canids currently dictating the pace and the tempo of this match. That's not to say that it will stay that way at all. If we've learned anything so far, it's that this game can be incredibly swingy one way or the other. Neither of these sides have been particularly consistent when keeping their leads.
See if it fights further. F&B just a wee bit too far, and saw body step out, but hit Meganar at the best time possible. Both squads saying, okay, we're drawing the battle lines a little bit more, and as you said, they recognize that the next fight could really swing the game in one way or the other, and they don't want to make that major mistake. You can almost feel that fear of, if we make a mistake, we lose out on the opportunity. It's one of the reasons that a lot of people, have spoken against BO1s. You like having that extra map to play with that feels a little more contested. See if it does change at all here. We're still looking at 28 minutes into the game. Damage being done. Feisty leading at the top. 21,000. FMB following at 20,000. It's going to be enough because the tower damage is what we're looking at. FMB looking to take this bot side tower on its own. Needs one more hit and they will get it, but now the chase down occurs as Zest overstepped. Kaze is here and the Croc is turned into a handbag before almost taking one more on their own. Last auto attack doesn't go through. FMB able to survive. True Shot Barrage across the way.
Yeah.
Nah, you're good, you're good. No dice.
I mean, a really good effort there from Zest in the 1 versus 2, but my question is, what on earth were Los Grandes doing mid lane? I see that Tempered Fate is still available. I see that we've still got Cyclone, we've still got Shockwave. They really needed to be more proactive with that, trying to make something happen whilst there was a 2 versus 1 happening down in the bot lane. Instead, they get nothing. The Dragon that just spawned is going to go easily to the Red Canids, and that's just another pickup for them. I think that's a really big blunder from the top side of Los Grandes there. Zest getting caught out on the bot side, and the rest of them in that top lane not making a play happen just feels really inconsequential.
Yep. It's there, right? Like, it's nice to have at the end of the day, but it feels like scraps for a lot of these squads. They're poking and prodding at each other, but never willing to go over that line of, we need to make something big happen. Nothing feels forced. Everything just kind of feels maintained, and for 2 squads at the top, it actually worries me. I want to see more aggression. I want to see more proactivity. I want to see teams willing to take action and kind of take control of the game instead of waiting for the game to come to them.
You talked about the pitfalls of best of ones. A TP in here from Kaze.
It's going to be a lockdown a little bit. Holds on the edge, though, as that's the tag from Drake.
Oh,
Breaks sees Curse on the wrong side and follows through so quickly. Neutralized is this J4. Rough times. Temper Fate misses, though. The rest of Red are going to scatter after losing the jungler.
Yeah, and you can see why Ackerman maybe not so keen to throw it. He gets caught, though.
Another catch. Nice knockup with that quickness. But really, it's all about this Baron. Pinkwood inside of the pit.
No jungler.
No big issue there. Uh-oh.
Does mean that Los Grandes should be able to take this if they don't get fought upon. Kaze, FNB, these solo laners for Red, they need to step up now, and Rebella with no ulti, going to find it difficult. No Mega Gnar either.
That's tough. Get tethered into the wall. Shockwave lands on one. Frosty draws that out. Kaze with the whip on the hijack Shockwave, and you are just going to fall. Los Grandes say we have found a grand opportunity, and we'll wipe 3 more while looking at the Baron.
Yeah, how can you do in the late game? That was our question to Los Grandes. They came into this with a massively over-exaggerated win time. They were just slamming everybody incredibly quickly. 28-minute average game time coming into the week, but we reached the 31-minute marker, and somehow Orbital, they're able to dice it out with our best in the league, find themselves a quick pick on the enemy jungle after, honestly, Curse overextended a little bit. He threw his life away, and then Los Grandes were able to find the fight around the Baron that turns the game back in their favor. I hope this is the throw. It is. We're going back far enough here as Kaze goes a little bit deep. Really good dodge from Dudu as he's able to get out of that one, and then Curse here, he's trying to zone out for his team. That's absolutely fine. Sees Dudu use his E, but look at the distance he is from the rest of his squad. There's no way they can follow up on that. Despite his flash, it means absolutely nothing that they can't get out to safety. Ackerman here goes a little bit too far forward. He does have to flash out once more, but then it's just the timing on these different breakpoints. Red losing the Mega Gnar for FNB, so he's just a minion really, walking in to try and auto-attack. Kaze not quite able to find the hit on that Shockwave. It's a great flash response from Dudu as he sees this charged up. He does flash the flash of the mid laner. Able to take down the tier 2 turret in the mid lane, now taking tier 1 on tier 2 on top side. No fighting just yet as Zest has lost a good amount of his HP, but Los Grandes charging strong now.
Well, might have overstepped there. Zest watches as the Temper Fate goes a little bit wide. GA being popped, though, as it feels like Los have found the right opportunity. Flying Dragon not going to crash more than 3. It is a payment of 1 back. FNB getting chased out, though, as Dudu firing away with those Mystic shots. And wrecks some HP bars, True Shot Barrage as well. And you put yourself in a neutralizing position. Sonya's won't keep you alive for
That's
much
it.
longer as Los Grandes expand and crash into the enemy base as Red Canids fall to the top team. And Los say, guys, we made a hiccup. It was our own mistake. We will not let it happen again.
And this team coming into the season, we ranked probably dead last, but Los Grandes, they're going to finish their first split back in the CBLOL with a 6-1 record, topping the charts here in game number 7 of the day, week split number 1. What a performance!
Deny the naysayers from week number 1 and show them all that they deserve first. Of course, this is not the end of split 1. This is not the end of the cup. This is just the starting point for them. Group stage done. You have a little bit of time the rest of the week where you don't have to do anything. You already knew that. But it's all about that playoff, all about actually securing that top spot. And for Red, it was a battle. Let's put it that way. A lot of mistakes in this game where you were hoping to make magic happen, and it just didn't fall your way.
I mean that was one throw, unfortunately. One EQ too far forward on Jarvan, and all of a sudden your game's over. So that feels pretty rough. They were, I won't say in control, but they were battling with Los very well throughout that entire game, and unfortunately not quite able to keep themselves steady in that mid to late game. It was a little bit too overzealous, just a fraction of aggression that ought not to be there. But they were looking strong. They did look like a solid team, and then all of a sudden, like we say, just that one little pitfall costs them. Going into the postseason, though, I'm very excited for both of these two teams. They are our two teams that get the bye, so they're going to end straight into the second round of playoffs instead of having to play an extra match ahead of things. But even still, what a great start to Los Grandes' return into the CBLOL.
Yep, I'm very, very excited to see what Los can do further, but there are more matches on the horizon. As you know, we got to fill out the rest of the standings. 2 teams are done. We have 6 more to play, and then more even tomorrow as well as Tuesday. We'll see which teams join who, because we got some deciders for 3rd and 4th. Don't go anywhere. The CBLOL English side broadcast will be back in just a bit. Welcome back, everyone. We are set to go for our second match of the day, one that will determine if a team is able to get a playoff seed or if they're going to have to do the play-ins here. And it's honestly going to be very interesting to watch as Fury versus VKS and Roodood. Last match, you had a prediction off on the podcast, which I think we need to talk about a little bit. You called it right, and now we're going to see if another comes true.
Yeah, I did predict this weekend, thus far perfectly for Los Grandes, saying that they would absolutely lose versus Pain Gaming, and then just lol and beat Red Canids anyway to take first place. But you should check out the Gringos Liberados podcast to get the full lowdown. Myself, Trajan, RMC had a good chat about the week coming into this week. So it's a really good little watch for you all if you've got an hour and a half to put on, go to the gym, listen to some nerds talk about Brazilian League of Legends. It's a great little old time. But you mentioned that this series or this game decides whether or not a team makes it into the playoffs or the play-ins. It's interesting, Orbital, because neither of the two teams playing get decided by this game. If, between this matchup, right, we've got Furry on one side, we got VKS on the other. If VKS lose, it means Leviathan can still get in, and that's the break point here. That's what we're hoping for. If you are a Leviathan fan, hello, welcome, and you want this game to go as long as possible whilst still seeing Furia win. Those are your two conditions for success in this game, because the tiebreakers, there is currently set to be a 3-3 circle of suck, where we have Loud, VKS, and Leviathan all there. They've all traded games against one another. So the head-to-head tiebreaker won't work. There's no game score tiebreaker because it's all 3-3. And you want to look at the third tiebreaker, which is average win time, which VKS currently are absolutely smoking the other two in. So you need, in this game, Furia, to drag it out as long as possible and still win.
Yep, there's a lot riding on it. I should have prefaced this by saying it is this game part 1, right? Like that's part 1 of like a 5-part series that we got to watch go through. Right now we are headed into draft though. VKS first pick on the blue side as well, so it'll be standard League of Legends that you know and love. Bans out the Malphite, the Pantheon, and the Orianna, all champs that are very annoying to play against. The Kiana, the Jace, and the Varus, we all know and hate these champions either way. Leaves open some power picks though, with the Rumble first up, possibly for Bold. Samus could be seeing that go to Miru as well if you really want to get messy, but Bold grabbing that immediately. So on the other side for Furia, they lock in the Cassante.
Yeah, so a win here for VKS obviously secures them playoffs, and obviously then puts them over Furia in that head-to-head standing. So that's a nice little boost for them as well. VKS though still got a lot of work to do, looking at what their draft looks like with the Rumble being locked up. The Cassante answer for Gigo, definitely not what I was expecting, but he feels confident with this matchup in particular, so nothing too untoward there.
I mean, I like it. This is as standard as you can get. It feels like, but for Furia, we really want to see them come out in strong form, look good while doing it, and be comfortable in their own. Couple discussions though. What do we want as that second? The Rumble, you stolen away the Hot Pot combo, or at least you had it stolen away from you. Last pick here. What are you aiming for? The Xin Zhao to round the corner, getting a couple knockbacks to play for. Very nice front line to go ahead and start.
And then we need to start thinking about what's going to bolster up the back of that, right? Like what's gonna go in the back line of this. Maybe we see this as Zia, maybe a Talia, a control mage picked up for Miru. Maybe Ryze gets taken early on, if you're so inclined. I do feel like that has probably been more of a Miru champ, and that's what's going to get taken here. It's a 6-7 win ratio in this CBLOL currently. And we'll see whether or not Toots has got the chops to take an Anivia. Yep, okay, yeah, to take a traditional Ryze counter. I was thinking the Casio, was thinking the Anivia. These two picks have been rising globally as answers to the Ryze. And whether or not Toots locks this in, we'll wait and see. There you go.
I love the Anivia, but it ain't gonna be there. Instead, it's a swap over to the Syndra. Maybe not a hard counter, but one that I think does provide a little bit more forward movement. The Scout of the Week really good at stopping the likes of a Xin Zhao and also being able to follow up behind AJ4. Looking at the bans though, ban out of the Nautilus. I almost expect to see an Alistar on the other side just from what we saw last game. Get some of those more engage supports out of this pool.
And those are the picks that have been really ruling the roost for these two as well in that bot lane. I think it enables IU as well when you've got that engaged support to try and find some of the really strong parts of the laning phase and make sure that you can go crazy with them. I do want to call out as well for VKS that a loss here really makes their chances of making it into the top 4 pretty darn difficult. And it's then probably or really is a massive detriment to them that this year they were looking at, maybe making it internationally and having great successes in that aspect. But when they're looking now, they just aren't in that same boat. It doesn't feel like they're going to be able to get there if they can't push themselves over this line in a match versus Furia.
It all starts one more step forward. You might be looking towards the future, but you got to look at the present as well and look at the path you're stepping on. Bans out though, as a full bot lane is banned out. It will be the Aphelios to follow, targeting a bit of that bot lane power that you were mentioning before. Double support bans on the other side. VKS do not want to deal with the Rakan as well. Has seen how that champion can really muddle the waters in how you run. So blind pick here, go with an ADC. A lot on the table, by the way. Aphelios and Varus, the only ones denied so far. What are you going to opt for? As it is going to be the Yunara we saw it before, it's time to pick it again.
Yeah, the Aphelios ban away, definitely indicating that one here. And they don't get themselves an engaged support to pair with this. We have seen it go both ways, where you pick a Lulu or you look to try and take one of these more engage supports alongside the Yunara. I think that for Ayu and Jojo, it's definitely going to be the latter. For VKS here, though, what's Morteus going to look to try and take in? He and Kaiwing yet to fully mesh as that bot lane duo. Gorky's going to be the one-piece part of this puzzle, and we'll see whether it's going to be another engage support, something to lock down the Yunara. Definitely feels like it would be on the cards. Looking at the engage supports that are still available, though, Nautilus being taken out of contention, you are looking at maybe an Alistair here as that big-ticket engage source that we might look for as Kaiwing.
I'm one down. You can see some discussions on their faces. What works best? It's the Bard, you know. A lot of discussion in there. Nah, we go with the old standard and faithful. Buff up, guns out, though. Jojo bringing out some tech that we haven't seen all season long. Lulu with the Yunara, the solo queue special.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really hard 2v2 now for the bot side of Furia, but the second that they get to that late game, the second we end up seeing some sort of team fights, I expect this IU Jojo lane to really start to pull its own weight, pushing forward, using that unstoppable, or using that the wild growth, there we go, on IU to make sure that he goes nice and large and he's able to pop off in these team fights. Because in terms of consistent DPS through this fight, it is exclusively the Yunara who's going to be pumping out that consistent damage. Yes, Toots is going to be great for a little bit of burst. Tatu as well, Gigo for that burst as well, but they're not pumping out damage consistently. We are very heavily focused on this Yunara and making sure that she can do all the work.
We've seen Yunara's take over games before, but we've also seen what happens when you whiff a little bit on the CC chain. The Yunara can go down very quickly. We don't want to see that happen. Both squads fighting for a chance to readily attempt to help secure a chance at your berth into the playoffs. You do not want to lose here. You don't want to muddy the waters anymore. So for VKS, let's go ahead and see if you can get that dub. For Furia, let's see if you can maintain your current positive record. We'll see what either team has to offer. You are looking at the second day of a 4-day span here on this third week of games. I'm very, very excited to see what else can be tossed to the wind, because not only today, we have 2 more matches a little bit later, but we have 2 more days of play-ins to watch who else will be joining in the playoff range. All the fans are excited for this week and for this match specifically, so let's go ahead and throw down.
Furia and the Cade Stars probably coming into the season. We're expecting this to be our, 5-1, 6-1 match. As luck would have it, as the season would have it, that's not been the case here. Now it's VKS battling to try and make it into the top 4. Furia all but secured in this top 4 as well. And Leviathan waiting out in the wings, Loud waiting out in the wings as seeing whether or not they've got a chance at making it to the top 4 as well. Loud coming into this week, maybe the best odds of getting in. The difficult matches for VKS, definitely something to speak about, but Loud themselves feel like they've drafted and found themselves in a position where they've got 2-2-0 or a 2-0 weekend pretty much lined up.
Not just that. A lot more in the wings if you are trying to be careful, if you're trying to really push your way into that playoff range. What a heal to come out very, very early on. Jojo overstepping the bounds just a little bit, though. As IU more focused on the farm, so Jojo actually ate a lot more. Kaiwing and Morteus relatively okay with their HP output.
Yeah, I mean, Kaiwing there actually missing on both Qs, which led to Furia being able to be aggressive in the first place, and then the second Q going wide means that trade could have maybe been fatal for Jojo had it have been in that position. But you can see heavy trades mid lane, heavy trades bot lane, and interested to see where our junglers make their first move. They are pathing down towards this bot side. Rumble and Cassante are going to do Rumble and Cassante things, and we can leave them to do that for the most part, but the rest of the side, or for the rest of the side, you have both got to be aggressive and resilient, making sure that you know where your jungler is, who's going to get there first. A skipped camp here could work wonders.
If you get that mix and all of a sudden accelerate this pace of play for either squad, that'll be one to watch for. At the moment, bot side, we're seeing heavily pressured into the tower. IU was utilizing Jojo's speed at the push to garner some extra hits. Games are being cleared, though. Scout of the Week not going to land, but Miru forced into that wall. I mentioned before that the Anivia would be really nice, but again, for Tuts maybe not feeling it this time around. Opted with that Scout of the Week, being able to push you into the wall is just as good for denying the relatively large combo that can come out. Start though, as Desamas is a little bit slower off the Krugs, and it will lead to the J4 garnering that scuttle in their Tatu. Very nice camp grab.
You might even be able to cross and go straight into mid lane here and maybe take that top side one, but looking at Tuts actually looking for a recall, it might not be as easy as that. Both of our junglers crossing in that mid lane and sort of eye for eyeing with one another. Looks like Tatu happy to concede this to Desamis. Stop of the recall, no, actually. And that's pretty big here for Tatu as he's able to get back to base now. We'll be able to move back out onto the map with slightly better tempo than Desamis, which, not for nothing, might be able to find a quick early kill and capitalize on that window. As we do take a quick look up to this top side, see that Bowl is pushing in Gigo. No surprises, that Flame Spit are quite dangerous early on. Tatu gets in time for his Krugs. He's going to start those ones up.
Feel good. Rotation number 2. Nothing major happening. Just chilling out is what we're looking at for IU. The only one with the pot on the bot side. Mid lane. A little bit of extra boon. Tuts actually recalled early. Getting that quick teleport back in. Went for the refillable plus pot. And Boots and a Dark Seal. So expecting to get a bit more damage, saying, hey, I'm going to get the ganks. I'm going to get the power. And to me, that's a little bit surprising to invest so heavily in just general stats, not more of the AP form. But Kai Wing is also going to do the same. Stepped a little bit too far forward, had to flash, and that's the price you pay for face checking and not dropping a ward instead.
We call those the flash for tempo, and I don't know whether that's worthwhile, but he did stop the recalls of Ayu and Jojo, so take from that what you will. As it does look like this bot lane has been pretty rough for Morteus and Kai Wing, down almost a wave in their own right, just off of pure laning disadvantages. Go back to base, pick up a recurve and a cull, so Ayu deciding that he's not particularly interested in fighting either. It's just a boatload of attack speed, doesn't particularly bode too well for these skirmishes. Either way, though, you can see Mirio playing very aggressively, now Tuts with 6.
And might be looking for a little bit of follow through. Very nice unleash power. No follow-up damage, but close enough. Tuts with a lot of that upfront early game utility is going to create space for Tatu to garner a Dragon Infernal for themselves, pretty much off spawn. Really, really nice pickup.
Yeah, again, really small thing here, but I think Tuts could have waited for another Q cooldown, then gone for the ulti. He would have had lethal damage, forced the flash from Mirio, and then found, a slightly better advantage in that, as Gigo now looks up to this top side, looking for the all-in, but Desamis and Tatu not even going to come to blows here. This is going to be a Dragon, but is there going to be a gank in the bot lane in the meantime?
Dangerous spot as Jojo and I, remember, don't really have something else to play for. Heal might just come through. It just came off a cooldown, actually. Damage, and now they can turn it around. Dragon grabbed for their own. And they get out scot-free. So Furia with a really nice leg up in what could have been a very dicey situation.
Yeah, it does give a little bit more time back over to Morteus and Kai Wing to maybe try and stabilize this lane. But it does burn double summoner spells off of Jojo. We'll see whether or not that actually ends up making any meaningful differences as we move into the next sort of couple of minutes or so. Finally able to break that crystalline overgrowth onto the structure, but not going to get themselves a plate. I like to think that they'll be able to find that off the next push and crash, though.
And as we head back to the top side, it is back to the wet noodle fight, or at this time, a warm stove, as I like to call Rumble at this moment. Not really that much damage, but enough to make you pull your hand back just a wee bit. Gold overall, only about 200 difference, nothing too much to write home about. So everyone's still trying to kind of figure out their way. Obviously, we're still waiting for first blood. But whenever it comes down to a low kill game like this, it really is about that laning phase. The 50 gold difference can easily balloon to a 200 or 300 gold difference if you're not careful about missing a wave or pushing, as you called it earlier, the tempo play.
And it all comes down to then who do we favor as we move later on into the game? You look at the bot lane and absolutely IU Jojo definitely a better 2v2 to take into that late game, but the playmaking capabilities of a Bard definitely not to be understated, and the poke from a Corki as well, definitely not too bad. But if we're looking at the consistent DPS, Miru definitely somebody to watch out for on the rise, even though I will say thus far Toots has had a really good showing in that mid lane, dodging very heavily on those skill shots. Yes, he went for the tier 2 boots early. He's doing a very good job at making sure that he's not getting caught by these overloads, not getting poked out, really giving a pretty good time of things in his own right as the Syndra.
Tatu, though, you're actually trying to get some sort of value in there, and I love to see a lot of that love for the teams, or maybe a little bit of the worry in there as well, just saying, hey guys, we want to see that victory. Tatu, though, with the wraparound, trying to do the exact same that we saw earlier from the Xin Zhao, Morteus, and Kai.
Hello.
Into the wrong spot. Remember, there ain't no help. You got to Bard portal out as best you can, but there ain't going to be some help. Wild growth to ensure even more CC as First Blood will go the way of Furia.
And it goes to IU as well, importantly. This Yunara, this bargain chip that they've got for the late game, finds a little bit of gold early on and is actually going to be in a really good position in this lane, even better than he was before. Puts in a excellent amount of work down to that bot side, and yes, it's going to be traded for some grubs in the top lane, but overall, you're very happy with this as Furia.
It's a great start. Your first major attempt at a gank, and you crush it here in the bot side, really punishing Kaiwing as well. And you take a look at this Kaiwing for the second time around, and this time not much their own, it feels like, has been caught out in this dark path. And when given over to IE, you kind of left it with this sour taste in your mouth. Like, dude, that's how we get First Blood over, trying to do the job that Sosu as a support. It just kind of sucks.
Yeah, and you know, at a certain point, you have to read the bot lane. You know, that was very aggressive positioning from IU and Jojo. And once again, Miru getting caught up by a scatter. Should be fine to walk this one out. I think they've got the damage to take down Tuts nor Miru here, as both supports show their faces in the mid lane. And a couple of shrines going to help Miru get nice and topped off.
It's not just that. Miru, after spotting the boots of Lucidity, actually opted into the Merc Treads very early on. Said, hey, if you're going to go boots, I'm going to go boots, which leads to a very low output of damage. I feel like it feels very weak in terms of how much damage these two mid laners are going to be giving out until later. So, you know, you're going to survive most engagements outside of jungle intervention. So it's a little bit surprising to see both the supports still roaming up, still trying to help out their mid laners and trying to keep themselves safe. Right now, though, we are taking a look, and we'll be waiting to see exactly where the rest of the pinch comes. We got Dragon up in just a wee bit. That, again, will be a fun one to watch for if teams decide to fight.
A slight gold lead for Furia, obviously, largely based off of the fact that they found that First Blood. Outside of that, not a lot really to speak of elsewise. You mentioned that Dragon for Rift Herald, the Void Grubs, weren't necessarily done in a trade, but it has resulted in that way itself. Morteus, quite feeling confident enough to step up and left-click that turret, which may be a little bit disappointing, but Psalmist does walk into Tatu. There's a cone right there, so we expect that he's going to be able to get out quite easily, but with that Dragon spawning now, Cloud Drake up on the Rift, it's all about who can get push, and Corki does very well at that. Phosphon plus Rocket will clear your backline very, very quickly. You can get through those melee creeps nice and easily as well. It's VKS with a complete sweep of this bot side jungle, making Furia working a little bit dark.
Yeah, but remember, they don't really have that much damage. Miru barely pumping anything out. This Dragon slowly being chipped away. Here comes Morteus to help out, but it's a good collapse, making their way in. But the call to go ahead and push out on the bot side, clear the waves, get the gold instead. Much more important than a lowly Cloud Dragon. Answers out, though, as we get the call of the soul. It's going to be Hextech to play for one. That makes things so much more difficult for everyone if you're trying to keep track of where everyone is. I like this play. I like this timing. I'm excited to see how much more it can create. Right now, that is around more, but straight into the ult from the J4. Cataclysm slow them down. Temper Fate also locks up Miru. Kaiwing allows his mid laner to die, and Furia get their second.
Yeah, and they thought that they were the ones catching on that bot side. It's completely opposite, though. Tatu, with an excellent read, manages to make the play down on that bot side that could very well break this game wide open. Gigo has ulti.
And be able to dance it. However, the all out doesn't do anything in the face of a flame spitter. Bull just slowly burns him away, tries to cook, extra shield comes up.
Leandris.
But are you going to take down? No, an extra level. Oh, that feels so good at the end for Gigo.
He's going to feel very fortunate that he's able to get that level up. I mean, he walked back to queue a minion to make sure that he got it, so he clearly knew his level up timer was there. A couple of good sidesteps from Ball here, as he did manage to dodge out on a couple of those Untofu strikes, which meant that Gigo wasn't able to turn this back around, didn't get that Omnivamp in his back pocket. We're going to get a replay of this bot side play, and it was a really good response from Tartu here. Catches 2 in the Realm Warp, 2 in the Cataclysm, and yeah, that Tempered Fate, you think it's going to be useful to you when you're trying to protect your team, and a good stun from Kaiwing does stop Ayu and Jojo in their tracks, but fortunately a Smite's there, a Smite's ready from Tartu, and a really nice pickup for Furrier on that bot side once again. It's VKS looking to make a play that they aren't quite able to translate on.
If it happens one more time, I feel like we're going to see that expanse of gold hit, that moment of just like, oh, all of a sudden Furia are allowed to play the game a lot more than we are. IU 1-0-1, but has been farming up a storm, about 3 waves up on their opponents. Or Morteus hasn't really had that much impact in the game so far, but I'm trying to farm their own. Went with that Triforce, but still trying to build into those boots. Another catch come out on the wings. Cataclysm actually locks him in, and Kaiwing is gifted over. IU could have picked it up, but Tatu said, nah, that's mine. I worked super hard for that one. Flash out of the week completely whiffs as Tuts tried to get in on the action. But it ain't going to matter too much as Furia, yet again, makes some moves around the map.
Yeah, and Tuts now walking up to this top side. That flash scatter of the week did burn the flash of the enemy AD carry, so you'll take the wins where you can get them. And now Jojo walks up to this top side as well. Tuts not with that scatter landing. He was able to dance his way out of danger, but looking at this damage, right, we talked about VKS having the slightly worse scaling composition, and they've gone for a Rise build, which you, Orbital, quite rightly highlighted is completely impoverished through the early stages of this game. Still not a single point of ability power picked up in his kit outside of that Doran's ring to begin with. As Morteus and Ayu start scrapping.
More damage coming down, auto attacks, but the barrier is just too dang good. And IU burns away with double bust. Good fight, though. I just called out Morteus, like, not having a whole lot of gold and being down. Straight up took it to IU right there.
Yeah, I mean, IU, he's 1 minion off of his cull being stacked, so that's like the AD carry nightmare where you're looking around the map. Are there any waves nearby I can grab? Well, actually, no. And I think that Morteus was thinking that's his last opportunity to try and take that play before the Unara is really going to take over.
Like it. Bot side, though. Bull being brought back to a fight that I don't think you like. Slice and dice across.
Oh my word,
but there's
hold
the
on.
burn that you want. And it is a 1-for-1. Very nice job by Bull to at least get some form of revenge.
Yeah, and I mean, VKS need that ball here with a really good turnaround play. Surprised to see Gigo fall to that one here with all the MR that he's picked up, but fall he does. Really nice little skirmish, a 1-for-1, but again, in these situations where you scale better into the late game, the 1-for-1 better for the team that is looking to push that pace of the game and make it go a little bit later on. Get a little look at what happened down on this bot side. It's Ayu who lands a quick slow there, looks to go all in. Good barrier actually stops a lot of the damage. The Frost Bomb lands, but Ayu dodges the rocket here, which is enough. It levels up as well. That's off of a random minion that's dying in the wave, and that HP plus a nice little heal keeps him alive.
And then on the bot side, we see almost the exact same thing with Bull once again getting jumped on here, but the true test of strength. Bull has actually been doing this the entire time, winning out on a lot of the trades in the top side, and was given this opportunity to finally fight Gigo out from under the tower. Meanwhile, Gigo, by the way, already completed the Force of Nature, plus has another Negatron. It's just like, dude, I need the MR, but the Leandri's burn is just too dang good. Kaiwing now joining on in to get a little extra crash down with the crystallization, knocking another piece of that tower out, as VKS are kind of battling as hard as they can to try and close this 3K gap.
Yeah, and they really have to, right? This is a team that if they lose here, they are eliminated from the top 4. Yes, they'll play through the play-ins and have a good opportunity to go through like that, but a loss here, they don't hold head-to-head over Loud, who are, even if they lose their next game, they would just simply fall out to, and maybe Leviathan as well can sneak their way in. All once again looking to try and capitalize.
Okay, Bull. Okay, that was
solo
just
kill. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just watching and I was like, dude, that's just bullying at this point. Bull is like, dude, you don't have your mom with you. You can't do this right now. This is the playground. This is where we fight, man. 1v1.
A little bit of life being sort of breathed into VKS here through their bot lane, or through their top laner in the bot lane. Really important as the rest of the map really starting to struggle, not particularly having a great time of things at all. Now we need to see him move up to the rest of the map, start to extend that lead across it, because they could really do with a top laner who feels like Thanos to deal with.
Bring the glove out. How many stones have you found? 2? That's good enough right now. Maybe 3 or 4. If we see 5 kills, then we got all 5 in there. Actually, you could just play up straight up the domination tree, right? The what is it? Is it the Ultimate Hunter? That's my favorite one to go for. Ultimate Hunter is annoying. Either way, though, we're seeing the towers fall a little bit faster now as the map is quickly opening up. What a tower dive as well. IU said I need to call mom and dad. Jojo as well as Tatsu in the mix.
Yeah, and they did manage to take it down. It's a trade of turrets, 1-for-1 in the top and bot lanes, and then just a dead AD carry. So Morteus really struggling to make his way through here. A good dodge from IU there as he emotes his way out of the Tempered Fate.
I love it. I love seeing some of these little fun emotes, but Desamas now in a weird spot. Gets caught on the back end. Wild Growth to slow him down, and ain't no way, because IU snaps up another. Now 3-0 and 3. Cole is finished 2 items deep right now, looking at that third with the IE. And we'll be getting even more because of this tower. Tut's coming around the corner, helping out. Bull left on an island, but at this point, the mainland is in trouble. IU wandering in a little bit further, playing with fire and knowing just how far you can push.
Again, if you're a Leviathan fan, you're hoping that Furia take their time with this win. You need this game time to be very, very long if you want a chance at winning out on that 3-way tiebreaker come the close of play today. So, Furia, yes, this 5k gold lead is good, and if they win too quickly, it's actually going to then start being a problem for the Leviathan fandom. But VKS in a very rough position here. They're going to hope that Bull can claw their way back into this and they can use him to make some sort of stand somewhere through this mid-game.
Yeah, I mean, with the Bloodletter plus Leandres, you know you will cook everyone. And having that Bloodletter also empowers Miru, who still needs a little bit more time. Finished up the Ceres Embrace. Now looking with the Rod of Ages. Still 5 minutes to go on that one. But when it comes to amping up the power, being given a Bloodletter so early on feels so good for any mid laner that is going to explode here in the late game. It also gently empowers Morteus as well, you know, shredding out a little bit of that magic resist, and you're going to have that kind of turnover. Granted, it's true damage now for Morteus, but it still feels good having the magic resist shred. VKS are building towards that late game. The only question is, are you going to reach the late game to be able to utilize that damage?
I mean, even still, it's you reach the late game, and to what end? As IU sat 2.5 items deep with a Lulu in his back pocket, neither one of them have yet fallen. In fact, the rest of the map haven't really fallen either. It is just Gigo struggling on that top side, and he's working towards an IBG as long as he can stand and be tanky in front of the face of Miro and Morteus. That's really all that matters. I think that Bowl, if he wants to find some sort of agency in this game, he's going to have to try and find access to IU and Jojo. And if you can't do that, then, and Rumble not the best at doing that typically, unless he's using it with Equalizer, it's going to be really tricky.
Miru, gifted a bit more time. On the top side, mid laner is farming it out as best as possible. Tuts this time won't miss the cannon minion like he did on the top lane. We don't talk about that one. And, you know, you gather your way around this dragon that'll be spawning in just about 50 seconds. Now about 48, and the questions abound. Are you going to be able to fight for it? VKS have been stacking neatly. They're able to gather this one that puts them on soul point, and all of a sudden it's Furia on the back end of this dragon call. They'll be put on the timer instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think for VKS here, it's about getting Morteus to his Muramana. Just needs to auto-attack a couple more things. I'll disarm it. It's not the time to get caught, buddy.
Yeah, you don't like it. Temper Fate stepped away from Tuts, very much able to spell Sling. Another catch on the far end. And they'll just kind of go ham. Miru, though, with a really nice flash, able to kite away. And this is the strength of a Rise that has that ghost as well. But Gigo steps up to the front lines. Nobody really goes down. These HP bars are maintained, and his Psalmist given time to recall.
Gigo used the teleport to get in there. He's cut through the shield. Now there's a Lulu there to back him up. And we can see slowly but surely Disarm is able to go back to base, get a fraction of his health back, and cones or gates his way back out onto the map. Yes, Bowl has still got Equalizer up in 20 seconds, actually. So if they can stall for that, then maybe it looks good. But this is where the Corky poke actually starts to come a little bit online here, Orbital. It's not nothing. That Muraman has been finished, and Morteus has a big one ready, so maybe you can put a good chunk onto Ayu.
The other side, though, is remember, there's the Hextech Gates. Both the junglers are actually back into the mixed TP coming in from Tuts. So a lot of these HP bars are being
now
replenished. So that's the other side. A little bit of dangerous poke. Once more, slammed down with that orb. And now the dragon started up. Ayu says, screw this. I want to fight. I want to get this objective. Becomes likely not going to land. Equalizer across multiple, and it is going to burn them
Melting
away.
Ayu.
Fought over. Smite works as Ayu picks it up with an auto attack. Hey, that's benefit. 3-man scout of the week. In goes Gigo. Snipe with the transcendent laser, and that's the rest of VKS falling. Gigo all's out and says, give me that blood and glory. Kai Wing dives straight into the Casante's hands, flashes into the wall, and loses their life. It is VKS to fall and lose for, and the Drake.
Down 5k gold, that fight was never going to look easy, and it looks even worse when there's a massive engage from Tuts and Tatu on the back of it. The Baron will be their prize here for you, as they're going to dart their way up to the top side, use those Hex Gates to get back out onto the map nice and quickly, and with a Dragon in their backs as well, they're going to feel very good about that play.
It hurts. All I can say is for VKS, it hurts. You dance for a full minute, and you are rewarded with zeros from the judges. One was given a 1 out of 10 just because Bull survived, and Bull is now going to try and hold it down in a solo performance.
Psalmist can get in.
Give your team
Steal.
enough time over the wall. You go and you get it! That is the Psalmist to bring it back! The ballroom blitz will continue. However, you lose one. Can there be more? Ayu getting chunked out. Miru sets up for the battle. Tatu goes in, but there's the Gatling gun. Morteus swings in for the fray, and VKS give a little bit of hope in a very dark time in this game.
I mean, they get the Baron and they get the massive shutdown of Ayu onto Morteus. This is the best case scenario for VKS here, as they stop Furia being able to snowball this game. They'll probably be able to close up some of that gold gap as well, and they can use this window now to slowly but surely bridge some of their gold gaps somewhere on the map.
I don't care if it's a negative Baron power play or not. What a steal to Psalmist, literally off the Hextech gate, by the way. Flew in and said, gimme. And I think everyone on Furia's side, I wonder, and we're going to get a replay of this. Bull with another great equalizer, kind of cut everyone off, primed them for the Psalmist over this wall.
Yeah, and the good thing is that you can see the damage or the HP of the Baron as you go through the Hex Gate, so he knows exactly what he's got to do. Fires the W over, grants himself enough vision, he hops in, and then Morteus Blast Cone over the wall, Valkyrie straight on top of the Yunara. That's exactly what his job is, try and take that one out of the game. And that's going to have to be replicated, which I think is the difficult part here for VKS. Ayu is sat so much further ahead of his counterpart that even that 1,000 gold shutdown hasn't really closed the gap. He's still got the Infinity Edge finished. Morteus is working towards that Mortal Reminder, but it's so far from being competitive in these 5v5s.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other side. I mean, listen, when the Baron is in the main focus, it's lives on the line. And you literally just pointed out, it's not any way to overcome. And it's straight up Ayu versus Morteus lineup. Ayu wins that 9 times out of 10. And will it continue? Is the big question, because Tuts is set up for another scout of the week. Tatu clearing out a lot of vision here, ensuring that there is work. Nice equalizer, though. They are going to hold off this wave to Samus, so try to jump in instead. And the Crescent Guard will only keep you alive for a little bit longer. What a tether, though. Neutralized by Miru, who is now online at level 16. Really nice turnaround to once again stall out this push from Furia.
2 games and 2 Jarvan flag and drags that have been a little bit too far forward for us here, Orbital Tatu. I don't think it's going to have quite the same implications as the first one did, but still a pretty big bolster for VKS's gold tally. Once again, looking at that Baron power play, they started out 7,000, 8,000 gold behind. I think that right now, Furia are going to be a little bit disappointed with how that played out. It's Tuts that starts this off. Double scatter catches Morteus and Kaiwing. They get the flash out of the Bard, and they get the death, honestly, out of Corky. Good sidestep here from the Syndra, keeps himself safe, but then again, it's Tatu going just that little bit too far forward. Look at Miru, as he just rattles damage in, not giving a single care, takes the Jarvan out very swiftly. We cannot be underestimating the power of this Rise now 3 items deep. And Miru hoping to be that late game carry that VKS so desperately need.
I think for me, we're willing and waiting on that HE trigger finger for the EW combo, making sure to have that Rune Prism ready to go. It's a dangerous spot. And right now, Battle for Vision, as Furia recognizes the Dragon is coming up very, very shortly. You need some sort of advantage, but I don't think you're going to get a VKS. Take that Scuttle, no vision, hand it over for free. Flash out by Tuts to avoid that Temper Fate. Don't know if that's enough.
Scatter.
Catches you again, Morteus. Morteus for almost the second time being that front-loaded, apparently, frontliner, which you really don't want to see.
He's trying to find the poke with the rockets, but even doing that, he's putting himself in such a difficult position where he can get caught by these Scatter the Weeks. He needs to be faster on the Valkyrie to get himself out to safety. Now, though, 3 items deep on the Corki. Can he make this big team fight work?
Oh, what a cataclysm over the wall, though. Samus locked into the pit. Nice crescent guard. Burn, but equalizing yet again. Bull has been so good on zoning out, but
another
the Scatter
Scatter.
are even better. Smite goes down and stolen away by Cassante. And it's huge win for the side of Furia. They look yet again for another Master Dragon fight, and they're going to grab it all out on the back end, but the front end is what we want to watch. Morteus will fall. Down goes one more. Faceplant by IU, but it don't freaking matter, as that's 3 in a drag for Furia.
And that's going to be a real push down this bot side. 2 members left standing, and it's just the supporting cast for VKS. Furia again, 7,000, 8,000 gold now up to the good. And they are looking to cement themselves as our 3rd seed, moving into the rest of this season. And they take the bot lane tier 2 turret, still a reprieve here for VKS, but they're down 8k gold, and we need to see more flashes of brilliance, more beautiful gameplay from them that we've seen just glimpses of through this game so far, if they'd stand any chances of getting back into this one. We get a replay of how it all started out. Tartu finds an okay angle here. He baits Disarmus's Crescent Guard out. I mean, this fight from here on in is always going to be very tricky. Ayo and Jojo able to stand on either side of the equalizer, and then from there, the fight just becomes far too straightforward. Furia feel more than confident to step it up and go completely hell for leather. As Miru decides, he tries to get out of safety, and then I think that by the time he lands on the Realm Warp, he just gets absolutely blown up.
I do appreciate the fact, I don't know if this is, intentional or not, but Gigo stealing away Miru, who at this point can cause most of the damage. I can't even talk about that one, as Samus is locked inside of Cataclysm once again, and Gigo brings him right back to the battle. Tatsu will burn, but doesn't matter. IU with the routing. An impromptu portal being used here to get the rest of VKS to safety.
By the slow.
But Miru is getting sliced and diced out. No Renekton, but the Blades are just as good. Well played for Furia as they look for yet another Baron.
Yeah, but Equalizer ready for Bowl here. Some decent HP bars to work with, and Furia did lose a little bit of their HP, and the Baron can shred you as well. 4 members looking to take it, and I don't know where the jungler is right now. It looks like Tartu's looking for a big flank.
Tut's looking for one as well, but only gets one on the Scout of the Week.
And they have to go in.
Says this is important. Gigo getting burned down, but Baron is down to about 2.5. There's no jungler in sight.
No one can steal.
It is a Baron for free. Easy pickup there. And this time Furia ensure that no extra smite comes through.
Okay, they've got a 10k gold lead. They've got their 2nd Baron, and in about 3 minutes' time, they're going to be able to find the Hextech Soul. Surely from here, Furia are going to be a-okay to close this one out. Now, this is the replay that we didn't get to see. This is how it started off, as it's actually just Tartu with, quite rightly, the ability to dash forward here. He's got the support of his team in his back pocket, and Disarmus is just caught in, unfortunately, no man's land. Good wild growth does keep Tartu safe, and Bol here able to work his way out using that nice portal from Kaiwing. But Furia in a really good position. You can see there's a little bit of skepticism from the coaches here, but they're still quite happy with how the fact that they've got the Baron, you'd think.
Oh, only a little bit. Only a little bit. I don't know if that's skepticism or just like a little bit of heart palpitations in there. It's like, is this gonna work? Please don't send me to the ER. Another catch though.
Oh, they've gone for Syndra,
and that forces a fight out. Equalizer and slows them all down. And Tatsu doesn't really have the HP for this TP into the middle.
Ooh.
And it was a close enough burn. Tatsu eating a majority share of that will heal up in the jungle. Desamas, though, steps into the battle. It's again a defensive crescent guard. He's got a leak on the back end as Morteus eats the blow, and one last orb lets you know that the hashtag skilled moment from Tuts will be the end of your life.
And that, again, for Morteus just feels so rough. He's getting constantly caught by these scatters. In the late game, he dies to a fully channeled Syndra ult, and as Tuts goes back to base, he picks up the Medjais. He knows that this is their chance to close the game.
Yep, and IU is now unleashed, said Morteus is down, you have no engage, it is free reign with the auto attacks, an ability that you know and love. Pump up that transcendent state and look for the game finish. Furia, time is on their side, and they will burn through to maintain their ranking at the top. Third seed could be theirs, or maybe even second. Eyes out for some tiebreakers, but at least for them, they know where they stand. Fountain farming for the glory as they wish. Temper Fate barely slows them down. It will be Furia moving on to 5-2 at the end of this group stage.
Yeah, playing with their food a little bit there, dancing around in and underneath the Nexus, underneath the fountain as well. Pretty rough go of things for Gigo, it's worth saying, as Bol was able to actually find a good couple of fights, a good couple of solo kills as well. But Furia able to cement themselves 5-2 to close out this season. And I'll move into the postseason as our third seed. They don't unfortunately hold the head-to-head versus Red, but they'll be quite happy that they managed to lock themselves up in third and have an okay match up against whoever the sixth seed ends up being.
It's a time and a half right there. Really, really fun matchup, though, in terms of that mid-game. The mid-game really exploded into just pure chaos. It felt like you could really feel kind of the desperation of VKS, the steals, bowls, using those equalizers, and some of the team fights as well. There were moments where we just, this being the final group stage moment, you didn't really want to let it slip through your fingers, but it did. For Furia, though, very well contained. With IU, I mean, this Yunara continues to look good across all the ADCs so far.
It does, and it's, one of the things that you have to think about, maybe considering throwing the ban at the Aphelios hasn't particularly been effective, at least that we've seen today, or you need to find a better way to try and go about it. I think there were some really good bans to protect this. Yunara, the Nautilus got taken off the board as well, so they were definitely ready for it. They knew what they were looking for, and unfortunately, there wasn't particularly an answer that was good enough by VKS.
Yep, and with that being done, it is another series close. Part 1 of 5, though, in determining where our standings are actually going to be. And we got 2 more matches lined up ahead for you. We got Pain versus Leviathan, that'll be starting at the top of the hour, as well as Aloud and Fluxu to finish off the day. After that, on Monday and Tuesday, it will be the play-in stages with those bottom 4 teams duking it out for a chance at the playoffs. With that being said, though, we are done on the day for myself as well as Roodood. We had an awesome producer in Dia rounding it out on the back end. And I do want to say, if you are enjoying all this coverage from start to finish, if you love our faces, or if you just love Roodood, because I know I do, please go ahead, follow, like all the stuff, follow the YouTube page as well, and give us all the support heading into further year-long fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all in just a bit.
Welcome back, everybody, to the CBLOL English. My name is Trajan. I am joining Roodood, retained from the first couple of games, and I'll be honest, you didn't have too many kills in those games, Rood. What's going on? It's kind of a snoozer, man.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Yeah, you should apologise for that.
I should,
personally.
and I will, for the lack of their
Apology
plays.
accepted, but now we're going to have 3 kills a minute. Pain versus Leviathan.
Yep.
Pain's single win being the top team on the table, and they've lost to everyone else because this is the CBLOL. But Roodood, they have brought in Trigger in the bot lane, something that should not have fixed every single problem in the team, and yet somehow it kind of did.
Yeah.
What do we make of this?
We make of this 2 things. First of all, they played against Vayne top, so they get a pass on that.
Yeah, lost kind of.
I
chucked that one. Yeah.
They did go. Here you go. Secondly, a new AD carry, and maybe it's like just the mentality diff, where people know that Marvin wasn't in a good position to succeed, but now that something's happened, the people will be like, okay, I feel like something enough has changed, and this can change us, and we will feel better for it. Do you know what I mean? Like they needed that. They needed that inside of them to see this change.
Yeah, just a bit of psychosomatic boosting going on there for Pain. Whatever it was, it got them over the line. They took down Los, who are our definitively top team coming out of this single round robin. And we're into the draft with a classic Rumble blue side first pick, with Pain picking up Ambessa and Galio. So we've got some decent diving, we've got some decent maneuverability. We do still have the Jarvan left open that Buki is going for. And I believe Buki did pick up, I believe it was on Jarvan in that game, I was Wukong or Jarvan, but they picked up their second win just yesterday as well. So Leviathan and Pain both coming off a hot win into this matchup against each other.
Yeah, 2 of our informed teams moving into the last day of the season.
Yeah, man.
Definitely in a position to use those terms, but they'll put themselves here. And I mean, realistically, for Leviathan, there's a small possibility that they can make it into the top 4. Now, this is already boding pretty poorly for that, because their composition, if they want to win and go into top 4, needs to be a speed run. they need to be picking Draven Pike bot lane and having the game finished in 15 minutes. Thus far, they have not done that. Now, Rumble, Aurora, and Jarvan aren't nothing burgers in the early game. They can make some things happen, but this bot lane is really going to be the live or die. Like, give me Samira Nautilus, give me Draven Pike. Like, that's what we need.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see such an early Galio, given that there's things like Cassio in the meta, and Enga has already pulled it out before, but they've gone for the Aurora, so to be honest, I feel like there could have been a harder punish on this Galio pick. We'll see if they want to flex it to Curry or something crazy, as the Pantheon has been locked in for karaoke as well, so both sides have decent single target lockup, and Leviathan have a lot of burst. They've got some mid-game power with Jarvan and Rumble as well. Bot laners left to the second rotation, and we'll see how the bans shape out.
So yeah, to reiterate, VKS still not eliminated from top 4. If Leviathan win here and then Loud lose to Fluxu W7M, it then goes down to a 3-way tiebreaker based on average game time, which VKS do have the best odds of winning, which is why I'm saying here Leviathan need to shorten their game time quite drastically in order to try and take that 4th place spot. But as we move into this second round of bans, it's largely focused towards those marksmen. Pain Gaming clearly have no idea what the game plan should be for Leviathan. This Corki champion is nowhere near as powerful as they need it to be.
No, and Seo has been one of the top performers for Leviathan so far. That bot lane started out while this Lev roster was still bedding in over the first couple of weeks. The bot lane really was the most consistent strong point for them. Seo has not been slouching. Now, since that point, Enga, Buki, and Devost have all stepped up, and they're starting to mesh a little better week by week. So, excited to see how they match up into Pain, a team that is currently flying high on vibes, but is fundamentally mostly the same team that got clapped 5 times in a row by the rest of the league. So we'll see how this does shape up. The Unara was banned finally by Lev, and then Aphelios taken away by Pain. So again, not another early game smasher, another kind of late game win condition, and they might be going into the Lucian, so they might be trying to take that bot lane into their own hands.
Yeah, and this is a really nice, I guess, early game duel in terms of a marksman. Curry probably not afraid of trying to take a Nami here, maybe looking into Emilio as well, dependent on the pick that Leviathan look for down on the spot side. It's not nothing here, the first Kalista, and we have been seeing a good amount of Kalista get picked over in the LPL. Kalista Renata has had a pretty good run of things so far in the back half of this, and I'm not against it as far as snowball win early for Leviathan goes.
Yeah, I mean, like, Draven's great for that, but sometimes you just don't have a Draven, you know? That's kind of it's kind of a 100 or nothing bot lane pick, but Kalista can also be a big snowballer for sure, and they can really get stuck into these team fights with Renata ult tossed in on the back of a Kalista ultimate, J4 and Rumble on the top of it, big Aurora burst over that too, so anyone who gets caught out by Pain could be in a spot of bother. Obviously Tinones might be able to assuage that somewhat with a hero's entrance, but we'll see how that's going to pan out. They're going to need to get through that early game decently well, at least. And they've still got Lucian Nami, you know? So if we're pairing up Renata, Kalista versus Lucian Nami, both of them designed to stomp a 2v2, do you have like a natural favorite in that matchup?
If Kalista can dodge Lucian Q, it's Kalista. If he doesn't dodge Lucian Q, then it's not Kalista.
That's issue.
Yeah, and that's as easy as it goes. Now, let's remind the people at home, Lucian Q is targeted, so this is not the easiest thing for Seo to do. It's still possible because you hop very quickly, but again, it comes down to the skill shots. If Lucian Q lands, if Nami Bubble lands, potentially it's very one-sided. If those go wide, you do then give the opening to the Kalista Renata.
Yes, and now we know for Pain they have a quote-unquote strong bot lane now. It's had one good game. It looked like they kind of, at least, they weren't falling behind in that area of the map. They were able to play through it somewhat. They had another carry on the table. It was helping them a great deal having Trigger on board. Now, the one person from Pain I am still kind of looking at with beady eyes is Tinones. I think he was kind of along for the ride in that last game. He was still down in CS. He was playing Rise, right? You don't really have a whole lot of onus on you, I feel like, if you're playing Rise right now. The champ is just so easy to coast through the early stages with, and he wasn't necessarily getting a whole lot done yet, so I'm still watching to see if we can see Tinones get back to that success of old. The rest of the map certainly seems to be tightening up, and if they can get that mid lane lockdown, then Pain will be one to fear. With some tentatively excited Pain fans, some traditionals who have taken a beating in the first 3 weeks, but maybe now it's all about to turn around.
Yeah, and a couple of scraps at the bottom of the table. Obviously, Los Grandes definitely not there, but they'll take their win up against the best team in the league, and then they'll try and translate that into a A 2-game win streak to set them up for a little bit of momentum moving into the postseason. Now, don't forget here that this isn't nothing for Pain Gaming either. Of course, if they win this game, it then means that they are theoretically tied with Leviathan and potentially a Fluxu if they end up winning their game against Loud later on, and we could have a 3-way tie for 2 and 4, so 6th and 7th seed. Again, not nothing, and do end up being important. You do want 6th seed ideally, and if Leviathan, if nothing else, they're looking to try and battle for that with this win.
Yeah, we saw them get their first win against Fluxu last week and thought, okay, Leviathan setting themselves apart from the very bottom at least, and they're in a decent position to fight for that 6th spot. It does seem like they're growing consistently and they've got strong things to play through. When teams like Loud were kind of all over the shop, Leviathan then beat Loud and kind of made it clear that they can hang out with the mid-pack, and a win over Pain right now would put them in a very good position to have as many chances as possible through the play-in and see if that improvement can continue. Now, Sayo and Top Block, you can see them already taking aggressive positions, and Trigger and Curry having to give them the respect.
Yeah, I mean, you took, I think, W level 1 for Trigger, which, usually doesn't do too badly, in these sort of ranged matchups where you're not expecting to get down and dirty, but, Q is much more damage and maybe a little bit more difficult to try and apply, but definitely something that you can look for in these 2v2s. And I think that realistically for Leviathan, I know I harped on a lot about the fact that they can still make top 4. It's not going to happen. They need to win the game in about 10 minutes flat. With this composition, probably not likely. They were definitely relying on a barn burner between Furia and VKS, which we didn't really get. So they are all about securing that top 6, and a win here. They can maybe do a little bit of work for VKS even if they take this win.
Absolutely. Sayo and Toplop going to be pushing for that advantage still. Enga using the ranged advantage to chip away at Tinons for the time being. Oh, hang on a second. We've got some early presence in bot lane. Karaoke with a level 3 gank. Pushes Sayo and Toplop back. Gives them a nice health advantage for Trigger and Curry.
Yeah, and look at where the wave is as well. Like, that is in a disastrous position. Oh, Enga, hold on.
That was almost absolutely catastrophic for the Aurora. Yeah. Could have got taunted on the tower. Slips away, but Robo on an early roam. Pain with some tricky map movements here in Leviathan. I don't think they're ready for either of them. Robo's come out, the flashes come in, Karaoke's arrived. Enga with nowhere to go. And it's first blood in Ambessa's pocket.
How is it that Robo's the one that saves his flash there? Both Tinones and Karaoke go for the flash. Karaoke did his entire bot side, went bot lane, walked up through the river, flashed into lane to get Nimbus cloak so that he could get in range for the stun, and then was able to find the stun and take down Enga after he seemingly reverse insect himself underneath the turret and almost got taunted up there. So found himself in a pretty tricky position. Devos now with a slight experience lead, going to look to put a little bit of pain in the Robo pocket, but looked like it had been a really good timer for Robo as he's already been able to go back to base, TP back in, and is working his way towards that Hex Drinker.
Certainly not something we have seen much of. The early ganks and people roaming out of their lanes when they're usually just stacking up quest XP as fast as possible. So Pain pushing the boat out with this early strategy, gets the reward as well into Robo's pocket. And Robo has been such a strong performer for Pain so far, and previously on Loud when they were struggling at kind of the end of that project. Robo was still doing a whole lot of work in top lane right there in the last season, so he is certainly a good person to invest in at times like this. And for Leviathan, they've still got the J4 to make plays with. They're going to get to that level 6 at some point. They'll be looking for those ult combos, and we'll see if they can fight back.
I think that with the Java and Hot Pot combo, as you alluded to, definitely very real world where that potential for dicing back is on the cards. Robo on this Ambessa, I mean, the champion looks wild every time I see her played, and it's been in the meta for like 3 months at this point, but you are just spamming your buttons and turning around. But good hook here.
Curry yanked back by a handshake, Bookie around the corner. The flash is burnt, but the Renata still gets the credit.
Toplop takes the first kill for Leviathan here then, and that's not the best place for it to go. Would have loved it to be in Sayo's pocket, but nobody else was getting in range to finish off that kill, so one fellow to attack from an old grandma will take down the fish, and that is going to be a very big pickup to try and alleviate some of that Lucian's early game pressure.
Rookie on vision right now, but isn't going to be contested right here. Karaoke's heading out onto that top side. And the mid laners still just eyeballing each other. Leviathan still slightly down in the gold department. Robo with the lion's share of that advantage. You can see a replay here, and Toplop's just walking up. He just knows Curry can't be here.
Yeah, good handshake there. I mean, ultimately, you get to see a little bit of why the bubble is important.
Ooh. The phone. Devis found himself on the wrong side of town. Robo has already committed the ultimate and an equalizer to try and thin the wave, I suppose, but Karaoke will simply step up and stab him, and he will fall over. So the top play for Pain continues to grow.
Yeah, I mean, Robo's going to be very happy that his jungler's just come to bail him out there. Good flash from DeVos, dodges out on the hostile takeover, but it does still mean that you die when the enemy jungler comes to gank you, and this is a return angle that Pain Gaming might be able to look towards very frequently, really. You know, you've got a really good opportunity on this top side to punish a flashless Rumble. Looks like they're playing with their level 6 timers here, as DeVos and Robo both dicing with death, and yeah, 6 gets hit for DeVos. He's overheated, so he can't use the equalizer, and then Robo dings 6 off another minion that dies, and unfortunately, by the time he's realised that DeVos is there, it's a little bit too late.
To be fair, unsure if Robo would have survived that ult again, because I don't think he had the shield quite yet, and Devis did have a flame spear, so maybe it's fine that Devis flashed away and did not get caught by that. Robo will still happily take the assist. And Karaoke, of course, getting a bit of gold to spur himself forward as well. We can see some 6s being hit right now. Enga and Tinones have already hit that mark, the top laners as well as we've seen. So Galio can now drop into a side lane fight and turn the tide for Pain if needed. And given the comp that Leviathan has, I think he will probably be called upon before too long.
Yeah, it's quite likely. High chance of action in that respect, as Enga not quite going to be able to weave that next Q, but another engage bot side.
Ooh, lovely handshake as well to get the summon to Karaoke. Forces the flash in, a barrier from Sayo and a heal. Gets him back to tower. Bubble will not land. Buki around the corner. Has a Cataclysm. Do we want to commit to this one with a wave coming in? Looks like they don't. Leviathan will be happy with surviving at least. And Pain head back up into the river.
Yeah, no bailout used there, so I think there might have been an angle to try and turn that back around if Leviathan really wanted to push the limits of their champions, but not necessarily in this instance, as I do think that as this game gets a little bit later on, Pain Gaming definitely struggle for their damage, right? Like, Lucian in the late game can do damage, but finds it very difficult. Pantheon and Galio, again, very difficult to get that damage down. And Bessa, same sort of situation, but for me, Enga has the real carry potential as we move later on into this match. This Aurora, I'm expecting to be able to do crazy things and hopefully be able to punish out onto Pain Gaming.
Tinone's already locking in that Spectre's Cowl. Should basically mean he's just good to go for the rest of this lane. Unlikely to be killed once you get that first stack of HP shielding, HP and shielding down, given he's already got the MR shield built into his W. He's looking for a roam onto bot side right now. Spotted on vision, but given the reset timers, shouldn't be causing any issues across that side of the map. Leviathan, we're kind of waiting to see what the plan is going to be right here. As you say, they're unlikely to win the game fast enough to actually change the game time head-to-heads, but they still have a comp that would love to play in the mid-game, you know? So regardless of the game time, they still kind of need to play while they're strong and not let this one go too late.
No, exactly. And I think that that's where a large majority of teams are going to start to fall down. I think it's a good thing that they've sort of screwed their heads on straight, recognizing that changing the win game time is not particularly on the cards for them, but let's try and find something that we can do thing
win,
with.
Let's start with a win.
Let's start the game with that win.
That.
Exactly. Yeah. And they found themselves with this dragon now as Leviathan, and maybe we'll see a little bit more Prio out of this Kalista and Arta lane, who, for the most part, up a wave in CS, not doing too badly.
Looks like they may be cooking for a dive right here. Pain on full HP with Galio roaming down and a culling chunks down top lap a little bit. This is going to be tricky for Leviathan if they want to commit. I don't think they do. They're going for the ultimate. They clip them both. But no one's going to be pulling triggers right now. Pain's bot lane will survive. The grubs picked up by Karaoke on the top side now going to steal away the blue buff. So using that time with Buki not really getting anything done down there.
Again, my ability to impact the CBLOL and the players of the ways that they play not quite strong enough there. Me screaming no to top lop was not enough for him to not rip the hostile takeover there just for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
But
house.
Yeah, a little bit of free time in the mid lane for Tinones, a little bit of free time in the topside jungle for Karaoke, who, despite his absolutely sociopathic pathing early on, finds himself a little bit ahead in gold.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Pain. They went back to the old texts and did some weird stuff and came away with a gold lead that has now been consistently maintained, growing to a little under 1,000. 10-minute mark. Sayo went for the ultimate there. Top lot fires in. Trigger is as all anything. And Curry, now trying to get back to the base, has to flash away. So Sayo and Top Plot will take a flash for a flash with an aggressive ultimate, but they would have loved a kill instead.
I mean, I think that's very beneficial for Pain Gaming. Yeah, absolutely. That they're able to just stave off pretty much everything and all of the aggression that was there. DeVos now in trouble.
Oh dear, probably less likely to get away than Trigger and Curry, and drops again the ultimate to clean the wave out. But Robo being gifted a second kill up in top lane and is opening up a pretty substantial gold lead. This Ambessa is going to be a menace in the team fight.
I will say, trying to get on top of a Kalista as an Ambessa sounds like a nightmare. If you don't land ulti, that is. Once you land on the ulti, it probably feels pretty easy to stay on top.
Yeah.
But, we'll keep our eyes out for whether or not Robo's able to sort of capitalize on that as we move later and later into the game. Manages to break the little shieldy thing there on the turret and manages to crack himself an extra turret. Now, though, looking at this bot side of the Rift, they spent a lot of time missing ultis last time round, and Leviathan are trying to make something happen in this bot lane.
Trying to fight over this ward, maybe being intentionally aggressive, but it's a 3v3 right now. Karaoke's got the opening stun. Sayo dropping pretty low, remember, doesn't have flash from the last play, and Karaoke is getting the work done. The bailout's there, but he doesn't have the kill. An ult from Tinones just to seal the deal. No way out for Buki, and it's 2 more for Pain.
I mean, Pain Gaming are on a heater here. They are performing incredibly well, moving their way through this final week of this first stage. The CBLOL Cup continuing to add another chapter in its story. Trigger onto this turret seems to have changed this Pain Gaming roster. Definitely has done something for them, and I think they're quite happy at this stage in the game. They probably have slightly better odds as the game gets into the mid game, maybe slightly worse as it moves later, but they've got enough damage and they've got enough of a team to be able to make that work. As in the mid lane, we're looking at Enger, and I mean, yeah, Leviathan's not doing anything.
We're toppling. Yeah, we're just kind of dying in each lane. Karaoke wandering around 3-0-3, 100% KP on this Pantheon, getting a whole heap of work done with this aggressive early pick. He's already an item and change deep as well. He's being very comfortable on this jungler. With Tinones getting that aggressive move. Got 4 assists heading into that bot lane now. Getting 2 in there and 2 earlier. It's just all good for Pain. We're just kind of chilling right now.
Yeah.
And we're waiting to see, I guess we wanted to see what the plan for Lev was, and we saw some attempts on bot lane, neither of which really went to plan, and we're running out of options pretty quickly right here.
So this is what happened in the mid lane that meant Enger got caught. He's walking forward, and Karaoke is just playing on the edges of vision there. Oh. Not quite able to get through the wall. Yeah, that feels bad. But
yeah, when you walk yourself into that bear trap, that does not feel good.
I think
for Enger there.
That's not ideal as Enger to die there. Just my analysis of the situation.
For you to be on this show, yeah. Because I couldn't have told them that, you know.
No,
I wasn't sure if that was good. I was like kind of calculating still, and you got there way faster than I would. So
it's just what I do on the daily.
Yeah. So Pain's just gone up to 4.5k in the lead when they were about 800, what feels like about 30 seconds ago. So this has kind of gone vastly wrong for Leviathan in the last few minutes, and now Pain have the chance to play out a very comfortable lead, and no one is slacking. You know, I said I wanted to keep an eye on Tinones and see if he's going to be able to hang out. He is doing exactly what he needs to do. He's getting out of lane even. He's rotating to fights he needs to rotate for. He has a pretty simple mission that he is filling out very easily, and the rest of the map is straight up winning.
Trajan, I found a new metric for when the game is doomed, okay? And it's when the quest order completions are what Leviathan are experiencing right now. Their first person to get their quest complete was Toplop. The second person to get their quest complete was Buki, and then it was DeVos. That is the worst cycle, the worst order that you can look for. And that's how I now know. That's my new measurement of a game being in a very bad position.
Yeah, we've got a new stat to track to see any game where that's the order, and then get the win rate of all teams where that happened to coin the Roodood Doomnometry metric. And the fact that we're just behind the curve, generally speaking, right? Sayo just finished his quest. Enger is still not even done yet, and we're starting to rotate players around, so we're going to slow it even further, and it is just becoming a little bit tough. Now, for Pain, given the situation, it seems like Karaoke is happy to just walk around, has been happy to walk around and counter gank whatever Buki does, and that's been working very well for them. And I'm expecting them to now kick into another gear right here, because Pain, or at least not necessarily Pain, but Robo and Tinones did get kind of used to being players that just won in the late game by being very experienced, but we will need to see them put together a decisive mid game at some stage or another.
Oh, bubble lands. Okay, no, absolutely fine to just flag and drag his way out, unless.
Trigger, not to be dissuaded, takes a little under half of Buki's HP with the culling and tries to get that push continued in mid lane. But again, it does feel like Pain are just very unpressured. You know, they're not seeming like they're clutching or grasping for anything. They're happy to just receive any play that Lev attempts and then just go, well, here's how that's not going to work, and then just walk away.
Maybe look up to do this Herald now and start to put themselves in a nice juicy spot there. Buki goes in.
Ooh. Trigger gets away from the hostile takeover as well. TP's coming in. We're going for the full blowout right now. Karaoke catches Buki on the way in. Has already gone down. The hot pot's there, but out goes Robo using the public execution to abstain. Tino's with an ult to follow as well. Splits this fight across two fronts. So now Curry and Trigger in a little bit of trouble. Enga with the first kill. Tino's with a clutch on the other side for a taunt. But Karaoke and Robo sewing up the problems across the river. And Pain in a scrappy fight in mid lane still come out on top.
And, I mean, that's the absolute goal there. They only lose Curry, they take down 4 members, and they're now 6,000 gold to the good in a 16-minute game. They're making this one look easy. I don't know what Trigger's done, what he started putting in the breakfast shakes, but they are doing absolutely wonderfully, showing out on the stage in week 3. And a win here, I mean, it puts them in a very good chance at being our 6th seed. This gives them the opportunity to play in that first qualification match. 6th is so different from 7th and 8th, and I mean, Pain Gaming taking this win here definitely puts them with the head-to-head over Leviathan, which is currently our 6th seed. If Fluxu end up playing and winning versus Loud, we'll see how that changes things, but dialing back in on the replay here, Leviathan just not really having enough to do to this, as the handshake takes Trigger out of safety, or out of danger really, from the knock-up, and then a re-engage that Robo quite happily takes, and there's just never really anything that Leviathan are doing proactively here. They're trying to run away, but they look for this re-engage, another fight, and they're just trying to go and overextend far too much.
I honestly love the way that Robo manages this fight, going aggressive for the kill, ult to safety, and then holding back, hold pressing the break until Karaoke can come in, but he's zoning the bot lane off at the same time. It's very good measured play from the Pain top laner, not necessarily his hallmark, but he is a very, very experienced, very decorated player. And we can see it in fights like this. Now, Enga, Toplop, and Buki all in the top lane right now. to see if they can find a punish. But Curry, Karaoke, Trigger, we're all piling in for another fight here. Herald's going to knock this tower down with no problem. Karaoke's all going for the stun. Buki getting double knocked up. Tinones has arrived as well. Devis nowhere to be seen. It's just a 4 versus 5. And Robo just cannot be killed right now. Pain going from strength to strength with another raft of kills in top.
Sayo and Devos just look up at top lane and go, hell no, I'm not getting involved in that. Watch their team get absolutely torn asunder, and they'll be able to take the good amount of plates out of this tier 2 turret as well. I don't think they'll be able to work their way all the way through it. Much like I'm not too sure that Leviathan are going to be able to take this whole turret as well. Sayo has got a Blade of the Ruin King finished, but I don't think that's going to be nearly enough to worm his way through the entire thing. Robo's already made his way down here, and those home guards are doing absolute overtime. Trigger does actually take that turret, and CJ, I found some really interesting statistics here. If Pain Gaming do win this, they put themselves to 2-4 alongside Leviathan. They are then once again preying on the downfall of Loud to put them.
well,
Pain.
That
Fluxu beat them because Pain Gaming got slammed so hard in early season. They have the shortest average game time, and that might then put them into 6th place.
Oh dear. We saw a repeat of that top fight, but it's kind of clinical by Pain. There's not too much more to say about it, to be honest. And they went up to 10k off that lead. It's on 19 minutes, and they're 10,000 gold ahead. This is a gargantuan lead for Pain. This is, going into the season, this is maybe the kind of thing we would have expected to see from Pain versus Leviathan. Leviathan, a team with a lot of names without a whole lot of Tier 1 experience, some LLA circuit players that were mechanically strong, but we didn't know how they'd hold up in the CBLOL against Robo and Tinones and Curry and Karaoke and these huge names that should be able to steamroll over them. And it took a little while to get there, but that does seem to be what we are seeing. And for Pain to get the win here and then potentially, hang on a second, Buki doesn't want to hear the end of that point. He wants to hear more about Apostle Leviathan comeback, but it's not going to happen yet.
Yeah, and I will say it is average win time as well. I was mistaken. It's not average game time, it's average win time. So all of my stats from earlier on in the day, I apologize. Just completely lied to you. No, Pain Inting doesn't do anything, but they're doing pretty well underneath the turret here.
Yeah, Sayo has to back away. Doesn't love that one. Devast Ultimate stops Trigger from getting too much further in here. But to have Pain either crashing into a kind of spiraling VKS, which becomes a very dangerous match for VKS when previously we would maybe not have thought so, or Loud, right, which has the head-to-head against them already from Pain's struggle times. And we could have a potentially quite exciting first couple of rounds here in the play-in to try and get into that later stage. Leviathan, of course, would have loved to be there, and they certainly do have plenty to show, but in this game, they have just been bowled over from the very beginning and have never really found a time to get their balance.
Well, let's put it this way. If they do somehow make it to that top 4 this game, then they've probably got some good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. And let's start with this kill. We'll start with a quick kill to Karaoke going to Seo's pocket. We've been waiting for that first Kalista kill for a long time. Yeah.
Baron?
Any thoughts, Baron?
I have Kalista. I have a dead jungler.
Any Barons?
I'm down 10k gold. This is as good as it gets.
Probably send it. And I think Lev are feeling the same. We're baiting. We're just losing mid. We're TPing in now. We've got to be going. We're committing to TP. Buki's flashing into a Galio. Can we actually kill a Galio? That's the question right now.
We're going to try.
Not doing a whole lot of damage. He's trying to ult away, but he's not gone very far, I will say. And it's going to fall down eventually. A second for Sayo. The Nami ult finds nothing. Curry drops 2 in the Cataclysm with the hot pot coming through. The Nami's surely to go down. One for Devos, but now Robo has arrived. Can he turn it around? Trigger's gone down. Leviathan have summoned a win fight out of nowhere, and Robo's doing what he can. The bailout could save Devos, but it's not quite to be. Robo with spears out of every orifice, but he cannot die just yet. Leviathan picks up a win out of nowhere.
Hey man, apparently I can influence the game. They heard me out, they said Baron, and they found 3 kills off of it. That's a really solid bait by Leviathan. Yes, they lose out on Devost and Enger. Hold on.
Checks it, has the burst, doesn't have enough though, and Robo will only be delayed.
Yeah, that Hex Drinker working overtime here, as I think that had that not been finished, it would have definitely been a quick pop there of the Ambassador in the top side. But a good little set of bounties claimed. I don't think that they're going to be able to do that as easily again. But Tinone here walks in, a good flash engage from Buki. And I mean, for this time round, Curry here being a little bit too offensive with his help, as it does actually mean that the hero's exit in this case doesn't get him nearly far enough away.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is great engage coming through right here. Robo really is the player right now in a game like this where it feels like he might just low-key 1v5 a fight like this. If they'd gotten that last kill on him, that would have been massive. And we've got another one burning. This time it's Karaoke, who's absent from that last play. But Seo's been caught out. Robo gets the ult onto him and goes into the bailout. Can they find the kill? They can't. This time Trigger currently cut off by the equalizer, but now it's gone down. Enger's ult gets a bit of burst. They found Robo. 3 for 2 for now. Topped up an Enger, who managed to scrape away without doing too badly. But this has certainly looked more difficult for Pain than it did 5 minutes ago.
This is a 2 for 3 when you're 9,000 gold to the good. Oh my god, Trigger just walks up and off HP's Enger under the turret there. But this Aurora is doing damage as well. He's got that blasting wand in his inventory, likely working towards, I mean, I'm done guessing mage items, but probably a void staff with that blighting jewel now helping out as well. I think that Enger's in a position to be able to maybe put some good damage down in this game. So a replay of how this all started. It's Pain Gaming deciding that we are going, and Karaoke, again, maybe a little bit quintessentially going a bit too aggressive, but getting caught out. Sayo here decides he wants to hop onto Trigger at the back end of this. If you put a little bit more damage into Robo, maybe he can get revived. But the damage from the Aurora gets 1,000 gold off of the shutdown onto Robo. And then you can see the damage that they're doing onto Tinnos. Remember that this was a Tinnos who'd built that Spectre's Cowl early on, has that full MR item, and is getting absolutely popped.
Yeah, and lovely ult placement by Robo to kind of catch Sayo mid-jump into its line of fire. And as we said, if you can get the ult onto Kalista, you're good. If you can't, you know, Ambessa's used to being the character with the most dashes in any team fight until Kalista shows up and goes, hold on, I've been here for years. You don't know anything about dashes. As Pain are now getting the vision down onto the Baron. Leviathan had the choice to go for it before, opted for the fight, and started to crack Pain's armor. Now, they're still looking for team fights. That has been paying dividends for them so far, and I think they're just going to try and roll that dice again.
I think with the soul point here, you can see that Leviathan, I think they recognize we can't do anything on this one. Try and clear out some vision on that top side. I don't think hitting the Baron is the play here this time round, but Getting at least a little bit of control over the banana brush. Let's try and find a position to put a TP ward down for Devost and make sure that if he needs to make his way into the fight, that he can. Ocean soul point picked up for Pain, though, and in 5 minutes' time, Leviathan are not going to have that same advantage, that same possibility to just say no. They're going to have to try and find their way back in.
Leviathan need to pick up some waves right now. They are. I mean, Enga's going to be close to that completed Void Staff. He's already got the 2 components for a couple of minutes. We've got 3 items done on Seo as well. Kalista, despite the struggles from early on, has more kills than Trigger, kind of laughably, in a game like this. And has reached that 3-item mark. We'll see if they start to go tanky after this point or start to keep shoveling in more damage to see if they can get that first kill on the board. Karaoke with a GA as well to cover him on these engages, gives him a little bit of extra safety to go aggressive without necessarily throwing his life away. So these fights are getting tenser and tenser, but Pain are doing a great job at holding on to that Baron River vision. Leviathan always having to try and skulk in as close as they can, but never getting control over it.
Yeah, and one spear there from Karaoke actually does a good amount of damage onto Seo, who I think himself could benefit from going for just a little bit of a tankier build. Jack Show on 3, Bloodthirster on would work really well. You can see they're just fishing here, trying to see if there's any way back into this fight, but it's not going to be easy. They're going to be reliant very heavily on Enga to see if he can make that damage happen in these team fights, as you can see them now posturing, looking like they want this fight.
Top going for aggressive handshake. Devast on the front line. Eats a lot of culling bullets. Didn't enjoy that one. He's sticking around, looking to see if they can get a back off right now, as Pain is going to get control of the mid wave. They've got Top pushing in as well. They've already still got control of the Baron vision, so Lev can't let it go dark for too long. And they're trying to keep Pain on the line right here, just dipping in and out, stopping them from really getting any progress made.
Yeah, it's just that constant threat, and just enough to make them think that we can't go to the side lane. Because we've completely done away with those 27 minutes into the game here, Trajan. Nobody has touched a minion in that top or bot lane for the last 2-3 minutes at this stage, and Enga might be looking here with that stealth, not quite going to be able to find an angle onto Trigger, but you can see here, good poke is going to come through here.
Very okay, going forward, gets a flash out of Buki, who still gets chunked as well. They get onto the front line. Seo's been caught out, but he flashed into safety. Robo again finds the Kalista. Trigger, though, dives in to secure that all-important kill. And without the Kalista, Pain run rampant over the rest of the fight. Enga with decent damage, but Trigger cannot be stopped. Buki running for the hills as Robo sticking to him. A blast cone gets Jarvan out of there. But finally, after such a long wait, a tense struggle in mid lane, Pain come out on top.
Maybe come out on top in the game as well. I'll run some maths to see what the times are looking like in terms of average wins, but they're looking to try and break open this tier 3 turret in the mid lane and instead decide that the Baron is up for grabs, so they're going to take that one instead. Nobody here to contest it. Buki, he's alive now, but I don't know that he's going to be able to work his way through the entirety of Pain to get into the Baron.
Wouldn't have thought so. Robo picking up a cheeky inner on the bot side as well. Pain going to be able to take this Baron down. I think Trigger's probably got a fair old chunk of gold to spend in his inventory. It's been on that 3-item mark for a long while. Seo is in fact going for the tankiness as well. Locked up a chain vest to try and go into that Jack Show, but has been found by Karaoke in the last 2 fights and loses summoners early in the fight because of it. So the Kalista's kind of naturally short range, not really helping him navigate these plays.
That's the problem with Kalista as you do move later on. It's just so difficult to get in and out. It's a problem that you see with Lucian as well, but when you've got a Nami in your back pocket, it can sometimes offset it a little bit, and not to mention that your 12k gold to the good. Yeah, he's
walk away.
Also has that option where he can just stand at range and not really feel too much danger. You see Leviathan, though, they know that Drake's spawning in a minute's time. That's an Ocean Soul for Pain Gaming if they do pick it up. Enga with that finished Void Staff maybe can make something magical happen, but it's very far-fetched, that final fight that we just saw from him. Pretty underwhelming as well. Didn't particularly get any engagements onto anyone. Felt like a very mage right there, where he just threw a couple of spells and did no damage.
Yeah, Trigger with the GA locked in himself as well. As okay, well, that's a bit of damage.
Yeah, do that in team fights.
Does heal up a chunk of it. Yeah, let's see that again in about 10 seconds. Away from the tower, as Leviathan do smell a little bit of blood in the water, and they're trying to chase it down. Curry doing what he can to heal him up. Buki and Karaoke going to clash in the bot side, and Karaoke is 4,000 gold ahead with Robo. Deep TP in the backline. Gets onto them once again as Dev has been sectioned off. Tino's diving in to keep this fight going. Sayo pushed into the revival, but he gets the bailout this time. This time he'll get for now. Enga with an ult across many members, and Pain struggling slightly, but they do pick up 3. They've only lost Robo.
Yeah, the healing from Curry is doing a lot of work as it's keeping Trigger top through these team fights. He's taking a lot of damage from Enga, from the backup damage that Sayo's providing. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough, and with an Ocean Soul being picked up as their prize for this team fight, unless it's that quick burst, unless it's a one-tap, there's not really a chance for Leviathan to take these fights anymore.
And Pain are going to pick up the Ocean Soul as a reward. They lost too many members to go for the end, but they will still find this Dragon Soul, keeping members like Robo and Trigger topped up as the fights stretch out. The task for Sayo to get those executions got even harder. Here's the replay of that one. It's a lovely flank ward by Robo, getting right into the backline.
Yeah, and we're talking about if they can land the ulti while having that ability, on such a short range, is always going to work very well for you. Now, look at the damage that actually comes through here. It's just the burst from Enga and a nice rend as well. Thought that Sayo was destined to fall, but didn't quite have enough in him to go down.
He's not even done, and he's waving at the camera.
No,
he's still going. He's just saying, "Hi guys, how you doing?" Checking in with the fans,
12.5k gold to the good. It's a good time to be a Pain fan. They've had some pretty rough weeks recently, so
yeah.
No reason not to.
I just love that it's not even like he's saying anything or like doing trash talk. He's just waving. He's just like, "Hi, I'm playing League.
We did this.
This is my dream job. Okay? I'm having fun. We all feeling good in the crowd today." As Leviathan, there is a cheeky ward just around the corner from Buki right here. As Pain are trying to keep the pressure on. Couple of waves they're pushing through right now. Buki been discovered by a Comet Spear from Karaoke. They've held on to 2 inhibs so far. 1 is not too hard to deal with. Leviathan can get some gold in from there, but Trigger again, Enga is finding him on these pushes.
Unfortunately, he's going to get Ocean Soul plus Namid now, which is going to delay probably an extra wave of time, which is great. But ultimately, you didn't blow him up. You didn't quite have enough damage to take him all the way down, and he comes back to the next wave full HP. So you're not going to be able to get away with doing that again. And you can see he just autos you twice and does just as much damage.
Yeah, they both have the ability to do that one, and Dev has committed his ultimate to that play. Did not get it to stick in any way, really. Robo crashing in the supers to the Nexus turrets. Leviathan holding on by the skin of their teeth right now, but it is getting very tense. They're looking for Robo. Karaoke's ulted to the other side of the play. They've actually repositioned very nicely onto this Ambessa, but Tinodes comes in with a clutch ultimate to save it. Trigger with the first kill onto Jarvan. Sayo on the front line doing what he can. Flashing, cleansing. He's pressing every button on the keyboard, but it just doesn't matter. He can't get enough spears, and the bailout's not enough, and Pain have wiped out the rest of Leviathan. They put up a good fight in the end, but Pain puts the second win on the trot on the board and will defeat Leviathan 15k up, 2-5, their final round robin record.
Well, that has a lot of standings implications. Pain Gaming now a likely chance that they take 6th. This now means that VKS are also locked out of top 4. They will be 5th. And that actually, it's Loud who are actually playing this next game with no real stakes. They're already locked in at 4th. But Pain Gaming with a 2-0 week, or a 2-0 weekend, I should say, because we've got best of 3s tomorrow. They're going into them with some good form.
Yeah, they've got 2 wins. They've got momentum coming through. Trigger has settled in very well, it seems. And maybe Pain have pulled success from the jaws of defeat in the CBLOL Cup, and they now have a clear path into the later stages. And they could now be the actual kind of shark in the lower bracket. We were trying to work out, was it VKS? Was it Loud? Is it going to be Fury if they don't get the wins? But no. It's Pain from left field, from the top rope, from 0 and 5, have arrived here to start taking out these bottom teams.
Yeah, so I mean, it's actually going to be a heater matchup in the first round of that playoffs, where it's going to be Pain versus VKS as your first best of 3 to decide who goes on to the playoffs, and then obviously the battle at the bottom We'll see how that all pans out. Obviously, need to see Fluxu versus Loud, because that could still impact this this little standing situation that we've got going on. Nobody's technically locked yet for that bottom 6 spot, but it does mean that we've got our 4 top 4 teams already sorted.
Absolutely. So we have some definition right now, but we are going to go to a quick break before we're back with the last game of the night, which, as Rude said, Fluxu versus Loud, a chance to potentially confuse that bottom half just a little more before we go into the play-in stage. We'll be back in just a few minutes with that last match. Don't go anywhere.
rise up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last
Welcome back, everybody, to the CBLOL English. It is time for the last game of the night. Loud and Fluxu, and both of them can still do plenty of disruption in this playoffs bottom four, depending on how this last game shakes out, Rood.
Yeah, so I pulled out the napkin, I ran some numbers down. Unfortunately for the three teams at the bottom, the maximum number of wins they can end on is 2, which makes my life really easy. Yeah. The crux of it, and the thing that people need to remember from home, is that if Fluxu win in under 32 minutes, they are going to be 6th, and that's the goal here, is that they want to take 6th. I looked at the win times, saw who it was. Leviathan, average wins of like 36 minutes, no chance whatsoever. Payne's average win is about 32 minutes 10, and Fluxu's only win so far was at 31 minutes 51 seconds. So anywhere under the 32-minute mark, and they're good. Anything over that, it's probably not on.
Yeah, important to note that that one Fluxu win was against Payne. And they have a chance to, even after this resurgent week that Payne have put together, still screw them over by getting a win here and having the head-to-head. So wouldn't that just be the most CBLOL thing that could ever happen? So we shall see if Fluxu has the juice. Loud have certainly been inconsistent, we can say this. We have the roster. Let's pull the roster up, because there's a lot of changes on this Loud roster. Let's remind the viewers. And they've made a lot of changes. The team is very up and down. Their strengths seem to kind of fluctuate from game to game, but for me at least, the most consistent high point has been Bull in the bot lane.
Yeah, relatively a standout almost for Loud, I would say. He's been very, very consistent, as we've highlighted, and definitely a bright point and one of those more highlight-worthy AD carries and imports that we see from across the globe. But with Fluxu, we have here got Curti, Peach, Howls, and Bao with Pro Delta in the bot side, another import bot lane battling against one another.
Yes, and Bao, we were a little bit underwhelmed from the first week, but he has settled in a little over the next kind of series of games. I think really for Fluxu, the biggest pain point has been the top side. Curti has really been struggling, used to be at least serviceable in the 1v1s, but has been not having the best time. Now, as we get into the draft right here, they're giving him a Renekton, so they've given him a solid kind of lane duelist, but Shino has locked in the Gnar, so there's a potential to just space glide on him a little bit. We'll see how Curti and Shino play out that lane.
Yeah, the space glide has never been more present than in the Gnar versus Renekton matchup, and that's a really sad presence for top laners. I mean, if anything, yes. Curti will just be happy that he's not playing up against Cleanse Vayne, like he could have, like the possibility was.
Yes, so Loud have seen fit to show mercy in that regard and only put the Gnar against him. They've locked in the Syndra and a Corki besides that, so we've actually got a first pick AD carry and a Corki no less. So the Rumble was actually banned by Fluxu. Almost every team lets Rumble through, they give it away as the first pick and then they look for a counter, but Fluxu say no more. We're bored of that, we're going to ban it. And then Gnar has been taken into Renekton. So a little bit of a change up there in top side. We're through the second rotation, mostly Sivir and Ezreal denied by Loud away from Bao, and a Xin Zhao Nami ban set from Fluxu.
Yeah, so we're preempting the Lucian here as a ban from Bull, but I'm not too interested in why that would have necessarily paired up. Actually, no, they're not. They just banned it to pair up with the Corki. Okay, well, fair enough. To each their own. We'll see what it is that they're actually going to end up pairing up with this Corki and what it is that they're going to put into the jungle. You would expect to see that be locked in first, and it is Young Jay taking the Malphite here into their final game of the regular season. A reminder for Loud, they are currently locked in at top 4, so this game for them technically means nothing, and they can kind of have a little bit of fun with it.
Yes, they can maybe test some stuff out, show us a little bit something new, or they can go to the old reliables. The Young Jay Malphite jungle coming into an interesting one. We've seen Drake Hero pull it out. I believe that's the only other Malphite jungle we've seen so far. Now going back to the old reliable of his own, the only guy who cannot stop playing Jhin right now in the scene.
He loves this pick.
He absolutely fiends for Jhin every game, and we'll see what Pro Delta's going to put with it. If we're going to go for a double ranged, or if we're going to go for a classic Pro Delta engage style.
It's worth remembering or reminding the people at home, Bao is 0-2 on this champ. Mr. Useful has not been Mr. Winning for them thus far, but he's played 4 champions so far in the 6 games. 2 of them were on Jhin, the other 2 were on Corki, and neither of them he won, but still a point of contention that he did have the opportunity to pick something other than those 2. Instead elects for something which is going to give him some supportive access in this game, playing more towards his top side, towards Howls and Curti to be those power points through the mid and late game. The Rakan locked in for Redbert, a bit of a classic throwback to when we've seen Redbert be a really powerful playmaker in the CBLOL, and honestly in this split so far, he has been really impressive on this Loud roster.
Yeah, he absolutely has. It has been a bit of a glow-up for him, potential to step into a leadership position with 2 imports and 2 rookies. Sheena, of course, with a couple of Tier 1 games, Margot as well, but neither of them with a full split under the belt. But Redbert has really been shining in that role and does give us hope for the progression of this Loud project, whichever direction they choose to take it. And they would love to get a good start in the CBLOL Cup, starting from that playoff bracket as they are. So, for Fluxu, if we're playing around the top side, How's Rise has been very good. Rise is obviously in a great spot right now, and the How's Rise is very reliable, it's very effective. Now, this is where the game, we really need to see something a bit more from Curti here. As we've said, he's been struggling a lot. He has a Renekton. It's not the easiest lane for him to play out, but we really need to see something out of that top side. If we're going to keep picking Jhin bot lane, if we're going to keep taking the carry onus away from the AD carry position, we've got to see it come somewhere else. We've got to see the other side of that equation.
Yeah, exactly. We need to see the top side of Fluxu start to come true, really. I mean, I think that Peach in particular has been a real sore spot for Flux, who doesn't seem to be manifesting anything on the map, which I think is a real big problem for them. He just can't seem to find access into the lanes, can't really find any sort of advantages. And, you know, I mean, it's a rare instance here this time round where, as a Pain fan, you're rooting for Loud, but with all the history between those two orgs, they'll have to put their problems aside for this game.
Yeah, we'll head on to the Rift for the last time on this Sunday. And in the early stages, we have, once again, a Jarvan jungle on one side, and potentially looking to try and maybe help out top lane, or at least play through that top side, as it were. And the Malphite jungle for Young Jay, we're not expecting a whole lot out of it until level 6. We would assume he has a slow to offer, and that's about it.
And do you know what he does have, though, Trajan? He has got press the attack, which is the source on Malphite jungle. I'm just going to say right now. He's familiar with something that I'm not.
He's got some technology under the hood there that has not been released to the public. Patent pending on press the attack Malphite. We'll see if that gets allowed to leave the lab right now. As Bao getting some good trades onto Redbird to open the lane up.
Yeah, now Redbird does have the Gleaming Quill, which does offer a good amount of healing, but obviously taking several bullets to the face is not going to bode as well for you as had you not done that. And a reminder as well for those at home, if you're just joining us, Fluxu do still have a chance to make it into the 6th position in the split, which is definitely what they are after. Gives you a chance at the qualification match as opposed to the elimination match on Monday. And How's going ghost early? Oh, no, he just phase rushed and walked out. But for Fluxu to win and get themselves 6th place to topple Pain Gaming from their perch, they would need to win in 32 minutes or under.
Yeah, the lofty Pain Gaming perch of not quite
winning the last 2 games of the split.
Table. Yeah, they're riding high right now. They're on top of the mountain, Pain Gaming, but they could be tripped up just as soon as they started that climb, which would be embarrassing. Hal's going to get this.
Who's the guy with the boulder? Sisyphus?
Sisyphus. Yeah, to be fair, I think Pain Gaming fans would happily compare their Pain Gaming fandom to a Sisyphean torture. I'm sure RMC would support that analysis, so I think that's probably pretty accurate. We saw Margot getting shoved around a little bit by House. Margot has been kind of the biggest pain point for Loud so far in that mid lane. He's had a couple of decent lanes where he gets out of the early stage okay, but we're yet to see him really step up in the same way that a lot of our other mid laners have. So in this all-important game against the struggling Fluxu, doesn't have the easiest lane opponent in House, but we'll see if we can get some more out of this Syndra.
Yeah, one of the points that we were really talking about was how well can you punish Margot? Almost felt like one of the trends that we were measuring mid laners up against. It's like, are you able to really punish him at all? As he seemed like he was feeling relatively weak on the scale of CBLOL mid laners. So hopefully that can change for Loud. And obviously, if you're a Fluxu fan, hopefully House is able to make the most of it.
Oh dear, we've got a flash route coming in here. Peach not quite in range, but does House even need it? It's just a clean first blood solo bolo. We teed up the point, Rude, and House was ready to fire it home.
Oh, brother has flash. Please dodge the Q or flash it. This is not acceptable gameplay in the top tier of CBLOL. Please, this is... I mean, it's massive for House, and Flux will be very happy that he's just found a quick solo kill, but I do really think that death is so avoidable. Especially since House has already burned his flash, but it does obviously just mean that that's a solo kill and one that should really have been avoided.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit about this on the podcast, Pringos Liberados, that we do in between game weekends, that I would have loved to see Loud pick up House instead of Margot in the mid lane, and I don't know what the kind of contract length we're talking about here is, but House certainly continuing to make that case for me in this 1v1. Now, Bao and Redbird, Bao and Pro Delta have been kind of fully in control of this lane. They've had the wave just sat comfortably in front of that tower all the way through, and we'll see a replay of this House pick.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that with the phase rush, he's actually able to get back in despite that scatter, and there's just no excuse for Margot here. He has flash up and ready. If I'm the jungler, I'm pinging that flash every day of the week. Like, we need to be getting out of there, you know?
Yeah, I'm taking the comms abuse report. I'll do it. I'll send the ping anyway. It needs to be done.
It needs to be done in this instance.
Someone needs to inform him as to what needs to be done about that. Now, we check up on top lane right here. Currently crashing a wave. Has been going even with Shino so far. So not getting glided on too hard by the Gnar in the early levels at least. Glade.
That's too close to something else.
Yeah, English is too hard. But Curti is at least doing fine. He's gone straight into the steel toe caps. The sign of a very fun laning phase is the toe caps rush on any champion.
I think there's this common mutual agreement that top laners go into, which is whoever bases first dictates how the lane goes. Oh, hold on, I'll hold it. Bull's in trouble.
Warp here, and Bull goes into the Valkyrie, flashing by Prodelta with a headbutt as well as a root coming in from House, and Bao's got the CC chain.
It's
that
very well
is
done.
Nasty business from Fluxu. Lovely layering of the CC. Worth bearing in mind, it still took them kind of everything they had to just about get the kill, but they burnt through the summoners, and Bao gets the credit.
Hey man, it's an Alistair and a Ryze with no magic damage, so we need to temper our expectations for how quickly they can get through a Corki who's already built, a whole Doran's blade in terms of defensive stats. So let's remember that Bao here.
He didn't have it. Yeah,
yeah.
Didn't even have it.
I think that was why my point fell a little bit flat. But you can see that a really good effort here from Prodelta is he flashes to knock him up, get to the other side for the headbutt, and then stuns as he's got out of turret range. Bao knows that he can tank one turret shot before he walks his way back out to safety, and that fourth shot's going to take him down. Nice and easy, nice and well done. And for Fluxu, again, the time is ticking. 32 minutes for them to be our 6th place team. Pauses, fortunately, do not count.
Yep, absolutely. It will stop the clock, as it were. I like to see House holding the Rune Prison until Corki's been knocked away from tower as well, using that CC layering to its greatest ability. So, solid play from Fluxu here across the mid and bot side, and top lane nice and even. It's a great start for them, but this is the nature of Loud so far we've seen. It is the early game is not necessarily where they flourish. They have gotten 2 out of their 3 wins have been through late game sort of suspicious activity from the other members of the league, and Loud certainly do seem to prefer the later, scrappier stages than the early ones.
Yeah, there's a very real parallel universe, which is like 1 over, where Loud are coming into this week as 1 and 5 as well, and this is like a battle to make it out. But as luck would have it, they're in a position now where they're very realistically, or they are 4th. Regardless of anything else. So they'll take that win, they'll be happy with it. And like I say, this game for them, effectively, do they want Pain to be 6th? If yes, stall for 32 minutes. If no, let the roll over an FF.
Ask again later. Yeah. So there's really nothing to lose here for Loud, to be honest.
What is competitive integrity after all?
I suppose. I mean, yeah, I guess. But we'll see if... So Fluxu, at the very least, as a team, for Fluxu, I originally thought this roster was going to start hotter than it did, and kind of Los was the breakout from that bottom half that there's always one of every split. But I'd expected more from Peach and Bao. Peach just from the LEC time, Bao had some praise coming into this area, whereas the lost members Zest and Feisty didn't really have much tape on them. But they have kind of struggled to get it in gear, as Bull is going to get caught out once again. Now the lovely CC chain, Bao with a 2nd kill, and the previous shining spot of Loud is getting picked apart so far.
Mr. Useful with 2 kills early on, working his way towards presumably the Youmu's here. Which is very nice. He'll be happy that he's got these 2 kills.
Yeah.
Hey man, he's playing Jhin. He's never dealing damage to the Malphite jungle. Let's remember.
He's never going to do that. That's so true, actually.
I could build a Storm Razor and a Last Whisper, like,
then I'll do damage for real. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
That is the delusion of me, the Jhin player, with my highest mastery champ being Jhin, going, no, I can build crit again, and I'll hurt the tanks. No, I promise.
Well, unfortunately not. And we do get to see this the long replay of how all of this happened. It was a spellbook TP from mid lane, which is pretty wild. I love that. And that's more forgivable for Bull than him just not checking the brushes as he walks past. But it's equally funny.
Yes, Prodelta with another zany angle that no one would really be expected to be factoring into the calculations at most points. But there you have it. So, Pro Delta using the Alistair to great effect so far. And Bao with the second kill, as we say. So we're going to get to that first item pretty quick smart. People like Margot and Bull will, and to be fair, Shino to a lesser degree, at least he still starts to get those extra tankier items done. We'll have something to stop and pause when Bao comes around the corner. So for Fluxu, we've gone some good laning plays. We now have dragons, objectives, and grubs and the like to fight over. We're giving the grubs, it seems, seeding them to Young Jay, who should be able to pick up at least 2, if not 3, given the recalling Peach. But we'll see if Fluxu can actually get a team fight going, because that's where we're still waiting to see if the team can really get off the starting block, and where Loud does start to perform a little better.
That is the case, and I've got to the point now, CJ, where I've seen enough of the early game. I'm now asking for a volunteer from Twitch chat to count the amount of successful procs of press the attack Malphite we get as this dive comes through. In no way in the bot lane.
Did steal Margot's TP from that play.
It did.
Just reach into his pocket and take it away, which is pretty funny. Fluxu gives them a little window to move onto this Drake, which they're going to step up for. Margot taking the long way back to mid lane. So another nice little mind game there. But yeah, I don't think we've seen Young Jay really hit anyone. We haven't really seen him on the screen so far. So we're 70 CS deep. He's got the ultimate ready. He's approaching that first item. And now we are starting to get to the point where we're going to be fighting about stuff. So we'll see if we can get any PTAs. And yes, chat, help us out.
Here we go.
As Shino looking to start get some fights on top lane. Young Jay, the flash in, follows, does reach him under the turret. And I think was that the third auto? Was that the PTA proc securing the kill?
I think that was only 2. I'm going to be honest, I don't think we've got a PTA proc yet for Young Jay. I'd have to watch the tape back, but Malphite does find purchase in the top lane, which is all that matters, really. Yeah, I mean, if he took electrocute...
He probably cares more about the kill, honestly, than the PTA proc, if I had to. But I mean... That's because he's short-sighted and doesn't,
he's not caring about the PTA analytics.
Like we care about, but it is going to be a clean kill. And the way he flashed and followed to get into the, to follow the dicing from Curti does get that first kill on the board. As unfortunately for Renekton, it had been a pretty easy time so far, but sadly, no longer.
And well, I guess that's fine, as he can't continue to do that, but. With Bao looking to try and get his recall here, surely the Youmuu's is ready to go, and we can get to see some good damage down onto these less tanky members. Redbird! Oh, disaster.
That is a shame for Redbird right there. Bull's going to get this crash in, look for some plating. Pro Delta still hanging out in mid lane, just around the top side right now, getting that roam. That is the classic Pro Delta, to be fair. He's always been a heavy roaming support, and so far... has managed to get good use out of it right now. I'm loving the deep wards in the bot side jungle as well that have been sticking around for an awful long time to give them heads up on a possible Malphite roam, I suppose, when they're trying to stack up this Jhin.
And I mean, when we're looking at taking down Jin's Malphite, typically one of the better champions at being able to do it, in owing to the fact that you can just cheese wheel the movement speed from the Jhin and have a really good time of things chasing him down.
Yes.
Redbird, though, could be in a little bit of trouble. Flashes.
Flash away. Lovely take by Peach there, just to thin out the threat from that Rakan, take a little bit of that engage range off the table as Young Jay is back on. He's just got the ultimate ready as well. We're having a fight for this one. Didn't need the flash to get in range, but House is coming around the corner, and it's going to be a 3 versus 3. No rotations through, and a lot of no damage going on by everybody, I will say, as in goes Pro Delta with another double knockup. But again, the only person with DPS is House, and he is 1 item rise, so we're both just walking away on half HP.
Hey, Young Jay got PTA procced, and that's what matters, is he did indeed get that this time round. He walked away with a little, spear target over his head, indicating 3 successful consecutive auto attacks. And you're quite right, since none of the colours actually amounted to anybody dying, we've got the time to take a look at who it is that's proccing PTA and who isn't, as Margot in this mid lane continues to be under a little bit of fire, and now Bull maybe in the bot side.
Loses the flash from Pro Delta. Redbird gets the knock-up, and Bao dropping a little bit low here. Does have the range to play with as Jhin, though, it must be said. Redbird with no flash. Bull as well. Curti surviving in top side as the 4th shot from Bao's ult does not land. Pro Delta and Howes going for the dive, looking to get the damage shot onto Bull. The 4th shot is there. Barrier can't keep him up as Howes picks the kill up. Peach takes over aggro. They knock down Redbird, and Fluxu with another great dive on bot lane.
Yeah, and look at the top side as well. We saw a picture-in-picture there as Curti was under fire in the top lane, but he's able to weather the storm of the Malphite and the Gnar, make sure that he's absolutely fine to get out to safety. And in that mid lane as well, worth mentioning that Margot does get a little bit of free time, a little bit of gold going his way, but That's a massive win down on the bot side for Fluxu. Reminder, 32 minutes is their window. They need to win before then to get to 6.
We're seeing a whole lot of good stuff out of Fluxu in this game, Rude. We're 13 minutes in. We've had a lot of successful plays. We're kind of keeping easy and comfortable, stable on the rest of the map. And we've got 2.2k gold lead in the AD carry position. Kind of what you need for Jin to really get the value out of it at this point. So Bao is in a position to perhaps get the first win on this champ and justify the continued picking of it.
Now, what I haven't done is talk about this game as it does get later on into it, and in particular the ability to kill a Malphite here as, oh, hold on, House might just be finding Margot.
Yeah, we've got the root coming down. He's already pretty tanky. Now, Margot has a bit of damage of his own. Prodelta's coming around the corner to save this as the Unleashed power comes through, but Margot is just getting cooked with the skill shots, man. House is in his head and takes another kill.
Really good spot there, finds both of those really tricky to land Qs and lands them double up on to Margot, who's now 0 and 2. A good little bit of patience there from House as he just waits in a brush, finds it a good opportunity to make a play onto the Syndra, who continues to struggle. And okay, you're going to get spotted out on this top side. Don't think Redbert's really going to be the one that's able to solo kill the Renekton, but putting down a little bit of damage doesn't hurt.
Young Jay has got an ultimate to offer if he wants to commit it. Of course, Curti doesn't quite have the flash up. He's got to heal from the Q. He drops the Dominus, and there's the PTA coming in. Thumbs up completed for Curti for a successful PTA activation. But top lane turret is going to fall as a result. Now, bot lane had already gone down, I believe, Fluxu with the first turret gold, and a dragon picked up as well.
Well, they burned Curdy's ulti in exchange for that dragon. 2 dragons to the good. And again, you know, we're looking at the pace that they've got to move at to try and find these wins. It is looking like it's on the cards. In 10 minutes' time, we'll be 24 minutes in, 25 maybe for the time to take them. And that's going to be a soul. And that's a pretty good spot. Mountain Soul itself, not the greatest enabler for winning out in team fights, but it does make the life of the opponents that little bit better.
Owls has completed the recall. I was wondering if he was going to go for another trap right there, but he has almost completed the Archangels. He's almost got the stacks ready for Seraph's transformation as well. The Rise about to come online into that mid game after a solid early performance from the Fluxu mid laner. Now Herald being started up. Fluxu with control of the vision for the time being. And we've rotated our bot laners into mid. So Fluxu, they had great plays through the lane. Now we're getting into the slightly more complicated state of the game. The decisions become harder. The risk and reward is higher. And Fluxu with control for now. So we want to hold on to it if we can see the development from this team.
Yeah, 2 TPs have been expended in, you know, a couple of minutes here down to this bot side by Fluxu. Curti here to defend the bot wave from Margot. I think House did it probably 2 minutes ago, just to make sure that they've got all of their ducks in a row. Redbert.
What's up by the CC chain as well. He's not got any time to move. The Ignite will burn him through. Fluxu with another lovely pick coming out. Exacties damage calculated as they continue to push out mid.
And that, I mean, it's really good stuff once again by Fluxu, looking to push the pace of this game and find what is ultimately their lead and their access to winning this matchup. Bao with 2 full items on the Jhin, a pretty much full completed item up over Bull. Again, as this game gets later, it's not easy for Jhin to play versus Malphite, but the rest of these targets it can definitely work out on. And where Jhin falls down, Rise will pick up. He'll be able to take out Young Jay without too much difficulties if he can worm some spells in. Rise pretty darn good at getting through those tanks.
Yeah, and we can see just the layering of the CC. We saw it in bot lane earlier, and Redbert, there's kind of no buttons to press, not much to offer in this scenario.
Yeah, he gets rooted by the Deadly Flourish and then stunned by the Trample, and then when he flashes away, he's already been ignited as Gino's looking for the bot lane dive, but Prodelta's there, and it means that Young Jay and Redbert have wasted their time down on this bot side. A good little shadow from the car means that Fluxu are once again able to defend.
Herald being dropped in the mid lane as well. Bao's going to pick
this
up
anyway.
That turret. Fluxu are still under fire. Loud feeling the need to commit to this play. And Dominus, I think, is still available. Curti's going to stay alive for the time being. The turret is now gone. Redbert's pretty darn low. He's got to be careful. Curti is shredded down. Bull picks up the credit for that one. So Loud finally getting it, or Young Jay, I should say, picking up the gold. So they'll get something on the board. But look at what they've lost across the map. Bao cleaning almost all the plates out of the mid-inner.
Yeah, and in the top side as well, they're able to take out Margot on the cross map.
wow.
So it's not even like this was a one
dear.
for nothing that they're able to talk about and come away with as an advantage. They lost out on their Syndra once again. This time, in fairness to Margot, it's because it's a 2v1, not a solo kill this time out. But the rest of the commitment from Fluxu does pay dividends, and Bao continues to push that gold lead. He'll go back to base. Look for working on maybe a last whisper item as, yeah, this is the picture-in-picture of what happened. Flo, I was actually kind of griefed by sending the minions out of turret range, but there's just no way of them getting out.
Yeah, a small error that does not stop them securing that kill. And Curti and Pro Delta, they last quite a long time here, but in 2 versus 4 with the tower going down as well, not too much to be done.
Yeah, I think this is the power of the grubs, really, because Bull just walks in and says, hold on 1 second, guys, I'll get Curti in a minute, but this turret needs to be dealt with, and, you know, fair enough to him. It's exactly what happens. 3.3k gold down, though. Loud definitely struggling here, and their bright spot of the map is Gino on this Gnar, and if he's not able to take Curti down without 2-3 members helping him out, that's a pretty disastrous position. For Loud, they need him to be able to side lane effectively. And I think this is really wise by Fluxu, just matching the Gnar with the Rise instead. You've got a Renekton who, albeit has built plated steel caps, trying to play against a Syndra. Maybe not the best setup, but Margot's weak as anything anyway. He can't kill the Renekton.
Yeah, and we're going into the Blackfire Cosmic Drive build as well. This is not a burst-heavy laning focused build from the Syndra. It's more about getting extra rotations on utility through in the fight. So Curti should be able to handle this one without too much trouble. Now, the gold lead has kind of stalled for Fluxu. It's kind of sitting between 3 and 4, depending on the last kill that went through. But they've got control, certainly, of this game. They're feeling good right now. They've got a dragon lead to play with, but Loud holding fast in front of the bot river as Bao opens up with the curtain call to try and get this engage going. House threatens with a faked-out Realm Warp. They don't get too much damage down, but Bull takes a fair bit. Curti on the flank! Lovely stun onto the Corki. They can't quite get the kill done, though. They need to get this carry down. Peach locks him up. Bull Valkyries away, but cannot escape the Jarvan. House zoning out Syndra entirely and leaves Fluxu free to run over this dragon fight. A failed flash from Gino just puts a bow on this win for Fluxu.
And even despite the 3-man unstoppable force from Young Jay, there's just no damage follow-up. As long as Bull falls, the DPS from Loud does not exist. And Fluxu, very clinical with their target focus. They took out the Corki and there was no recompense felt at all. With no Valkyrie here, Bull cannot be stepping up quite so close. He gets caught out by one of the Jin bullets, hits by the second as well. And then Curti, who's just playing in fog, flashes on top of him. Yes, it forces the flash out to safety, but from here, he's got really nothing to do. Manages to get a little bit of damage down, which I think is pretty admirable in the first place, but unfortunately, there's just not quite enough left in the tank. House is zoning off Margot this whole time, so the Syndra can't contribute. And yeah, the Observer's doing Gino a little bit dirty there by showing everybody what he just did.
Yeah, good for Peach getting that final Jarvan Q onto Bull, because I don't think anyone else was quite in range to reach him. But he did manage to get that last pick before going down. A critical kill there. Again, Fluxu picking up the win, even with the knockups being thrown left this way and that. They're now on a mountain soul point. Baron is live at the 21-minute mark. And that was the first major 5v5 that Fluxu have stepped into. And they came out decidedly ahead of it. So they're going to keep that gold snowballing up in their carries. House and Bao still miles ahead of their opponents.
Tier 2 turret in the mid lane, very barely alive for Loud, and once this Tier 1 turret up on that top side falls, the map really does just become Fluxu's playing ground, really. They've got about 3 minutes left before that soul, and once that comes up for them, they can really take whatever they please. There's not enough damage on Loud to really make them concerned as Gino hops onto the Jarvan.
House is trying to find Margot as well. Peach is desperately trying to get to safety, but will not be allowed to. Redbird and Gino can run him down, and a kill clean picked up for the Gnar. It's a good pick for Loud. Slows down the Fluxu advance. For the time being, at least. Not too much else to gain there.
These are the mistakes that Fluxu can't afford. Again, this game is one thing, but their positioning in the CBLOL Cup and where they'll stand is another, as Curti now caught out on this bot side.
Gets clipped by the edge of the grand entrance by Redbird. It's a 3 versus 1, and Curti, and he get picked apart right here. A second death given over by Fluxu, unless he slice and dices onto the speed up from the scuttler zone and somehow manages to scrabble out of there. A lot of time wasted for Loud on this one, as House is getting towers in top lane and threatening more.
All right, well, I mean, the living is great, but again, this is Fluxu slowing their roll. They're on a clock here, 9.5 minutes left before they go from being 6th and knocking Pain Gaming down to 7th, or, and you know, that ramification being that they get to play in a qualification game tomorrow versus an elimination one, or them being the team in that elimination game. And it is really big here. Getting caught out in the jungle is not going to be good. You'd like to think that, you know, going into this game, they knew the stakes of this. They knew what could happen. And unfortunately, it's not proving that they can fully implement that. Peach on this Java needs to keep his head up, looking for these plays proactively, but not if it's going to cost him his life.
Wow, searching for Bull Pro Delta. The Hex Flash into mid lane, can't quite get in range. Now he does, though, but Redbird and Youngjae around the corner. Bao is a little bit caught out on the front line right here. He's getting chunked out and has to flash away. House around the corner, barely keeps him alive, but Youngjae hunting from the side. Pro Delta running interference to keep that Malphite out of there, and Fluxu again. It's a little messy. They barely get away with that one.
Yeah, Bao living is pretty big. It means he can go back to base and maybe they'll try and turn their attention up to the Baron. Gino is the really big part of Loud. We highlighted this earlier on, that he needs to be the one to step up and keep them in this game. And with him falling, it definitely puts a bit of a wrench into their plan. It means that Fluxu have a much better time of things now, and that'll give Curti a little bit of time to catch up as well.
As we hit the 24-minute mark, Fluxu maybe keeping in mind that 31-32 kind of area that they want to get that win sewn up in, as House still hunting for Margot. He has been dominating his counterpart all game long, but Youngjae is in the river here. There's quite a lot of bodies down in this area right now, and Fluxu without much damage to show for it. Only House really, who will speed himself to safety. Actually chunking down Youngjae. Wastes no time shredding through an entirely armor stacking Malphite.
Hey man, I told you, this champion, like Rise, he does do the damage, and he will do it to tanks as well. So no doubt that if this game does get to the super late game, yeah, and that's gonna tip him over the edge almost in terms of capacity in these team fights.
Loud looking to try and slowly make their way through the potential minefield of bot jungle, as there are Fluxu members waiting around almost every corner. 20 seconds for a potential Mountain Soul completed by Fluxu. They certainly don't want to be giving any extra armor and MR ratios over to the Malphite Gnar combination on the other side of the rift from them. They don't want to slow down this any more than they have to. They're looking for another fight right now. The fight's been going well for them. Sometimes it's been tricky, but they've always been coming out on top. Howls still on the flank, waiting for an opportunity. Youngjae ultimate could be massive. Bao with no summoners. Peach goes in onto the Malphite, not much damage is found. Redbird gets the ultimate, gets a knock up onto Jin to cancel the curtain call. Curti has Dominus on the flank, but can't get much done. House has arrived, he's caught up Redbird, it's going to chunk him down. Youngjae's gone in, but no one's there to help him. Bao's going to be able to knock him over, and Fluxu with another kill on the other side. 3 quick kills for Fluxu, and that's going to be Mountain Soul for them.
Yeah, Peach is going to take the Soul. The rest of the team are going to look to take the Baron. They're looking for everything here. 6 minutes on their proverbial clock before they can stop this series from being a massive shock to everybody, making Pain Gaming not actually round out their season with a 2-0 and a spot in 6th place. Bull here, he's going to try and steal this, but Smite comes through. Fluxu get it. Looking up at the top side as well. They're going to need a little bit of help, it feels like, as House is really the only DPS here. And I think, fortunately enough, Peach... Wow, they'll be able to get over there in time.
Fluxu picking up everything after that fight. A very well executed play, separating the engagers and the damage dealers from Loud, giving them no way to play out that team fight. It is looking like a very different Fluxu in this game, and does maybe continue to highlight the weaknesses that this Loud roster has, the inconsistencies we've been seeing. Let's just watch how this plays, because Youngjae gets onto Bao, but there's no one with him.
No, and I mean, we get to see here Howes on this bot side just do so much work. He pops his ulti just to get the actualizer proc and then just starts to rain hell onto Loud. Good sidestep here as he goes back from the Grand Entrance and the Scat of the Week. Yes, he's got the support from Prods and Peach as well, but he's just absolutely styling on this mid lane.
Howes once again showing up on the rise. Love to see it. Means I certainly love to see it, but Fluxu going to get this Baron push going right now. 27 minutes on the clock, and they've got towers to deal with still. Margot's away up in top lane. Not that he'd have too much to offer besides it right now. 0-4-0. Has completed 2 items, but still far away from finishing the 3rd. And now Fluxy, all they've got to do is manage out this Baron push, not go too excited, get that damage down on the turrets, not get caught up by a stray Malphite ultimate, and they're working on the bot inhib turret.
I mean, the pressure is on, and it is going to be a little bit close here. Obviously, that 31, 32-minute marker probably means that they get 6. Then for Fluxu, we talked about them not getting overexcited. Well, they've got to make something happen. They do take down the mid-tier 3 as well as Howls. Gets hopped on by Gino. And there's a big
Went for the
TP.
dive, and there's the knocker by Young Jay, gets onto Bao as well as another member, but Curti comes in to stop Shino with the follow-up. Peach goes in deep to lock the rest up in the Cataclysm, but cannot quite get much more damage down. How's looking for a target to finish. Young Jay's gone down. The Bao ultimates are soaring wide, not connecting with any of them. Bot inhib has fallen, mid as well under fire. Curti shepherding Shino and Redbird out the north side of the base as the Baron minions are crashing on Nexus towers.
Yeah, they've got it. If they can end on this push, then they've got it. But with the 3 dead, almost 2 dead, it looks like. But Loud, they have to defend here.
Only Young Jay actually on the grey screen right now, but Redbird can't get in. In goes Bull, goes for a last-ditch effort, but cannot get the job done. And Fluxu dismantle Loud. 28 minutes 30 on the clock, coming in well under the time trial required. And what a lovely way to close out the round robin for Fluxu.
Yeah, so they'll end up being 6. I think one of the teams that probably across the board we would have said felt like the weakest team in the CBLOL for this cup, but when they turn it on and when they win, they're winning fastest. So they'll be the team that take it home, and they'll be playing in a qualification match tomorrow. It's up against VKS, which is not going to be easy, but they'll be there nonetheless and hoping that they can make it work.
Yeah, and we were talking about maybe a resurgent Pain Gaming reaching a dropping VKS. Well, just swap out Pain for Fluxu, and it's somewhat true, I guess. Fluxu just took a very decisive win off the 4th place team in Loud, and Fluxu have shown us something finally, right? Because that Pain game, it was more about Pain still going through their troubles and the disaster of that early season start for Pain Gaming than Fluxu getting that win. But this second game, this one's a little bit more legitimate against Loud, a team that have taken games off some of our best teams who do have undoubted talent. They've got flaws of their own, but Fluxu put together such a well-packaged, well-managed victory. There wasn't really a dropped ball to be found. Maybe a couple of people slightly too far forward, but they weren't actually giving up the kills in those instances. So, still a couple of small holes in the net, but nothing so wide that it cost them the win that they put together.
No, and I mean that's the really good thing for Fluxu here, that there were those problems, and we'll call out Mr. Useful here getting his first win for Bao.
Solid, useful game.
He did. He was indeed very useful. That final team fight, he did bait Malphite with his ulti, and did miss all of his bullets. But the zoning is
got
real.
Ulted. Yeah, got ulted, missed all of his shots, and then
won the game.
They won, so cool. I don't see any other steps in that process. I think that's probably it. And yeah, it's great to see. So I think someone else to highlight there is probably Pro Delta. I think he's currently, you can see him giving the interview there to Forget It in the picture-in-picture, but he is also a guy that has started very high and kind of dropped off over a series of splits, and we really weren't seeing too much out of him, but this was a great game from him. The Alistar was used TP and bot lane from mid lane to get funky angles, was getting flash engages, was zoning out Malphite in some of those kind of clutch mid-game fights where they needed to stay control of the lead. So a great Alistar game from him, and it was good to see some of these players step up.
And very infrequently have we been able to say that about Pro Delta as well through this split. It had really been a bit of a sore spot for this Fluxu roster. So we'll see how that pans out for him, and if he can continue to develop moving into playoffs and go back to that former glory that we did know him for, with any luck anyway.
Yeah, and don't give my boy House Rise. Don't do it, guys. This was already true before this season, and they made Rise like the best mid laner that just completely stomps everybody on 3 items and is unkillable by 2. Like, don't give this guy this champion, because he is very, very good at it, and we've seen that time and time again. So good to see him still putting up strong games as well. To confirm, just to Cameron ask in the chat, no tiebreaker games. I believe it is all going to get sorted out by tiebreaker rules, because we're going straight into the play-ins tomorrow, as Roodood said.
So yeah, to give clarity on the tiebreaker ruling, Fluxu, Leviathan, and Pain Gaming all ended 2-5. They took a win off of each other, so they did a sort of circle of suck where they each beat one another, the rock, paper, scissors trifecta, if you will, which means that you can't tie break on head-to-head. They couldn't tie break on game score because they were also identical. It then broke down to the average win time, and whoever had the shortest average win time came out on top. Fluxu actually had a much faster average win time across their 2 wins than Leviathan and Pain Gaming. Leviathan technically come in dead last. Pain Gaming come in 7th. Fluxu come in at 6th, which does mean that they're playing in the qualification match tomorrow alongside Vivo Cade Stars, where Leviathan are playing against Pain Gaming in an elimination game.
Yes, so we did just see Pain summarily kind of dumpster out Leviathan earlier today. There were a couple of moments of fight back, but Pain were certainly looking like the better team there, so Leviathan are going to have to go back to the drawing board, try and switch it up for that following match. And then Fluxy Vivo Cade, we don't really know, right? Flux.
No.
Whoop.
I'm looking at the live feed, and they're saying that VKS are ahead of VKS are playing Pain tomorrow. So
What?
I want them to run numbers that I didn't run, and I'm confused. But we'll take everything back, and Leviathan are playing Fluxu. So I don't know.
Tiebreaker strength of victory, which Pain won. Because they beat Los,
so
and
the
they just beat the best team in the league.
I
and then...
see. Okay.
Okay, well, that's not the funniest outcome. The funniest outcome would have been Pain still ends up in last after doing this.
Yeah.
But, so it is going to be Pain VKS. So kind of the original potential timeline that we started here of a surging Pain versus falling VKS does hold, and that is scarier for VKS, certainly, from what we've seen out of Pain in the last 2 games. So that could be a sleeper hit, that match. And especially as VKS is kind of running out of time to get themselves back into the title picture as our current defending champions. And then Fluxu vs. Lev does become a lot more interesting from what we've seen out of Fluxu.
Yeah.
Leviathan did beat them in the regular season, but this was part of the development time for both of them, so I think it might not be as clean next time.
Yeah, maybe not. But we will see. That's what tomorrow's for. We've got 2 best of 3s. Do we know what's going on tomorrow? I think it's bootleg stream tomorrow. We will be on. There will be something going on. I'm most likely going to produce and play-by-play if possible. So we will see what that looks like. Me and RMC most likely going to be on the call, just having a load of fun. And my neighbors are going to hate me.
Yeah. We will sacrifice Root's neighbors at the altar of the CBLOL. I'll do that 7 days out of 7. So... tune back in on Monday. Thank you everybody for watching today. Thank you Dia for jumping on production. Excellent job as always. Thank you Rudy for joining me with these last 2 games and pulling a full 4-game shift today. And thank you everyone for watching. You can follow us on X and Blue Sky at CBLOL English. You can join our community Discord. You can watch our podcast on the YouTube channel. You can submit questions through the Discord, which we will answer on the podcast on the YouTube channel. And you can join our Fantasy League to prove you know more ball than we do. And to be honest, in this current CBLOL Cup, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to know who's going to win at this point. It's pretty confusing. So if you know more than us, all power to you. Thank you one last time again, and we will see you back here tomorrow for the qualification match and the elimination match for the play-ins at the very least, in some degree tomorrow, back here at a stupidly late hour. But you can check your own time zones for that one. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you back here on the Twitch channel tomorrow.